It says we're live.
Well, it's 5:32 west of the Rockies, south of the 33rd parallel once again. Paula, Brian, what is going on?
Oh, all sorts of interesting things. Where do we start?
A whole lot and a whole little. Go ahead.
We're never going to start this because I don't. What do I do with these people? Would be my first question.
What do we do with what?
What are we going to do with these people? I mean, a lot of people recently have been putting face masks on to protect themselves from something, which I won't mention, because this will go in recording. We won't get flagged or anything, Brian. And I really think that and I really hope I don't insult anybody, but I do think that most of the time I lose respect for people unless they're doing it because they have a family member that like has to do something like that or encourages them. I think that most people put on masks because they don't trust God.
Well, sometimes you just don't want the trouble, have some fun with it.
And exactly. Then you'll put it on so that you can, maybe it's easier to hide now, right? If I just put it on, I'm going to blend in easier.
Right. What happens to facial recognition with all this?
They already figured out how to go around that. That's why they're having you they're distancing us 6 feet apart. That helps that whole situation.
Well, granted, they can tell from other things about your size and your color and all that, but they can, if they want facial recognition, they are making it harder on themselves.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
I think they have ways around it. I think that they already know we're going to have a device on it anyway. I don't, you know what I mean? And I don't think that they have to triangulate. They use the towers. It's funny. Anytime you talk to individual in law enforcement about these things, I've been in some incidences the last year and a half. I won't bore you with that though today, Brian. And I'll tell you, they know a general area, but I think there's higher ups that can use more different technology, right, Brian? That maybe you know closer, right?
Yep. 100%. 100%. The weapons or suppression weapon technology, pretty much you want to call it.
And when you know that they've got insect drones that can be mosquitoes that can inject you with any kind of thing, even a tiny tracker, you wouldn't know it. So there's a question in the chat. Flat Earth Deacon is here.
Says, speak of the devil.
Yeah. Do you think we might be on reservations soon? I'm not quite sure what he means. Do you?
Yeah, kind of like, are they going to herd us like cattle? I think is what are they going to make us move or something? Flat Earth Deacon, what is going on, man? Yeah, I pass this guy all the time in the hallway, and he sees me, and it's fun. He always sees me when I'm yelling at somebody, and I'm the crazy Christian in the chat, and I'm choking somebody by the neck, and he's like, "Hi, it's Pillbox." Yeah, hi, Flat Earth Deacon. Sorry, I'll go now. Yeah, so nice guy there. Thanks for coming, man.
That's what you do. It wouldn't be you.
Sometimes they catch us at our right time.
Oh, yeah. Cheyenne Cat. There he is. There's the guy I was waiting for. Cheyenne Cat, Set 1SQ. We were at DEFCON 4.2. Yeah, bro. Where you been?
He's my link master. Any live stream, he's just on it with the links. Any document I bring up, he's got a link. Videos I forgot I did.
You basically got a think tank here,
Yeah. But the thing is, I set up one I'd been going on Tuesdays for that Truth Finders thing. I did 50 episodes, which is pretty much a year's worth, a couple of weeks off. And decided to switch it to Sunday, but I don't know if I'm going to, I'll do a live stream Sunday, but I don't know if I'm going to keep doing live streams because after all that time and people are locked down at home, I dropped viewers and commenters like drastically. And I know it's hard to believe numbers, but I do, they can't really hide who's in the chat. And it really dropped off. I mean, I had 9 or 10 people, which is low even for me. So I don't know what I'm going to do next. I think I'm going to stop doing quote unquote truth finders and just do, I don't know, random videos or something because I've got topics on just about everything. I mean, videos on every topic, and can't get people to show up.
So it's being based on topic?
Huh?
Sorry. It's being based on topic? Go ahead.
Well, it was. I mean, I did studies, Bible studies all for a year every week, and
Right.
um, I'm kind of wondering what else to talk about anyway. Of course, I've done that before, but yeah, I mean,
Well,
there doesn't seem to be a lot of interest in live streaming. It seems.
well, a lot of people right now are doing the gaming and other things like that, but at the same time, there are a lot of people starting to wake up. A lot of the younger
Yeah,
ones, like here in Michigan, all of a sudden you had 15 to 25,000 trucks show up at the Capitol the other day. That's
yeah.
getting word out.
Protests here
So,
in
yep,
Columbus,
yep.
and
See,
yeah,
I'm confused. I'm conflicted on that one. Part of me, because of their technology they have, weapons can sometimes be neglected. I mean, they won't work. You know what I mean? You can't protect yourself. You can't pull them. You know what I mean? So
right.
at that point, I don't know I don't know how to go about it. Whether we do have a chance together or we don't. And the scary part is if we get this wrong, they have the power to fix things. If you know what I mean? Make it
Well,
easy on themselves.
we know it's all planned, but I also think that I always go back to the analogy in the Bible of the wheels coming off of Pharaoh's chariots while he's trying to chase the people of Israel through the Red Sea. That
Okay.
God can
Yep.
do that sort of thing, make the wheels fall off their chariots and put delays and roadblocks, and because
Right.
it's not like God is surprised by any of this, but at the same
Yeah, he's
time, it
got
is
his
planned.
pawns in play too.
Yeah, yeah. And the thing is that you were asking about alone or together. It's like, well, it's for sure if everybody's separated, nothing's going to happen. If you have any chance at all, it would be in a group. But the thing I've been saying is like, if you really wanted to have some community somewhere, you would have to have a remote place already working with people
Yes.
with different skills. Because right now it's too late. You know, I mean, I'm not telling anybody not to try, but I'm saying the plan should have been laid 10 years ago for that sort of thing.
Correct. Yep. Yep. Yep.
We got
If
people in
you're
chat.
trying to get into this, now go ahead.
I was going to say there's people in chat.
If
More
you're
people.
trying to get ready now, and you haven't somewhat prepared in any way, like even we're all neglecting certain things that we're trying to get done or we can't get done. But if you're now just waking up, you got a long road ahead of you trying to figure out
Right.
anything, you know.
Right.
That's
But
if you make it through.
I am encouraged to say people who normally wouldn't touch quote unquote conspiracy theories with a 10-foot pole are now touching it because they're like, this is just too in your face. It's affecting people. That's the thing. Other things were out of sight, out of mind. This one is in their house. So they have to pay attention. And it's like if you watch any TV at all, which I try to avoid, there's
Yep.
commercials are all about the new normal and washing your hands and virus, virus, virus. It's even if you don't watch the news, the commercials are pushing it hard. So it's in people's faces, and the thing is, they're looking into it, and they're in these hospitals and in these workplaces going, "This is not what we're seeing at all."
Yes. Absolutely.
So yeah,
It's
go ahead.
conflicting. What you're seeing on the news is conflicting on what you see on the stuff we watch, the stuff that's actually people there showing you, hey, this ain't going on in this hospital. They're claiming this thing is overrun, blah, 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 and it's not. It's like here, where I'm in Michigan, northern Michigan. There we have no cases around here, none. But they're trying to say there are. I know nobody still that has got it. I went up to the hospital, asked them. They don't know anybody. But yet, supposedly, we had a confirmed case here. That's messed up. And we can't get that word out because the news and everything is controlling everything. So,
And the thing
what do we do?
is, we do know that they're faking the numbers.
Yep.
And there's been absolutely, confirmed statements by people who would never believe in this stuff before saying, yeah, they're faking the numbers. They're counting. If you didn't die a violent death, it's a COVID, it's the virus death. And so they know this is being politicized. At the very least, at the shallowest level, it's being politicized. But the thing is, the game all along was crash the economy ahead of the so-called election.
Yep.
And that's what they're doing. But people are being resourceful, which they never count on because they think so low of us that, yeah, you can get the majority to do some pretty stupid things, but if you push them too far like they're doing now, they start to wake up, which they don't want them to do.
My daughter, or my stepdaughter, just we had a conversation. She's about 22 to 24. And I asked her, okay, what, in your opinion, your generation, how are they looking at this? And there was some good things and some bad things. One was she's saying that they're starting to wake up over all this. They're noticing all the numbers are skewed, all of it. The part I didn't like was the fact that, how do I say this? When you're in the world, she made it sound like, well, this might be a fight for humanity, and we might come out better overall spiritually. She's still got that hippie side of her that we had, but we had to throw away because we realized that part of that was wrong, and we were looking at it incorrectly, and that's where she's stuck in the world right there. She understands what's going on. She understands everything else that we understand.
Right.
FB, blah blah blah. She gets all that, but she's still stuck in the world.
Well, that's another setup going back decades. Is the New Age, and not enlightenment is not the term. What is it? Ascension or something. And so they've been expecting it, but you know who plants those ideas. And the thing is, they're being set up for something even bigger, which is where Bible prophecy kicks in, because they're being set up to believe a great lie and a cover story and to scapegoat Christians and Jews. I mean, it's just going to happen.
My wife is waiting for that. She's waiting to hear where the whole religious side of it comes into play really, really hard. That's the one thing she said that she's been waiting for, is that the tribulation, and that is
right.
The two things she's waiting to hear. In her mind, that will set in stone what's been going on, what was laid out, and stuff like that. What do you think?
Well, yeah, that's the thing is, having watched prophecy events and been into that since I was like 15, you always think, is this it? Is this it? Is this that? Because we never know how many cycles of this sort of thing has to happen. Like 9/11 was a big one. And then we've had, I don't know how many other smaller things that seem like, maybe this could be it, but this is unmistakable. And I think it is on the verge of the tribulation, but it can't start until there's a 7-year covenant signed by the Antichrist with, in at least Israel. It says with many, but in the context it has to be something involving Israel. And that's why what I've gone over in all my prophecy stuff is that I believe the scenario is that there will, after the rapture will be a trigger event. And if we think we're in high gear now, this would be on steroids, because there'll be a cover story and then somebody comes in to comfort everybody. But in that little interim, that little transition, the nations around Israel are going to attack it because they see an opportunity, because the world is in utter chaos. Right now, we still have TV and internet, but
right.
And people are still living in their homes. But this would be like people disappearing from their homes, with nobody in jackboots coming to get them, and that will be so scary. And that's when those nations are going to attack Israel. Israel takes a heavy hit, but they wind up with more land. That always happens. People attack Israel and they get more land. And that sets up an agreement and a temple, and they're going to have the temple going and all that sort of thing. I don't believe Christians will be here to see that part. And I'm absolutely sure about that. We won't see the Antichrist. The Antichrist can't be revealed while we're here. but everything is in place. I mean, it couldn't be any closer, I don't think.
You're talking to somebody that remember when we met, I thought I really thought we were related to monkeys and and all that. And now I can't believe the turnaround. Not only my turnaround in my thinking, but how do you say this? When you do that turnaround, it changes not only the way you looked at it previous, but ahead. And that kind of scared me at first. But now that I'm understanding and I'm ready to go home, I'm not worried no more. You know what I mean?
Right, exactly.
That anxiety, I guess, that everybody was that some people are having here and there.
Right.
I kind of let some of that go just recently. It had to hit me. You know what I mean? I had a moment of clarity, I guess you call it. There's nothing I can do, and we got to go along with the ride, but we can at least do what we can do, like we're doing.
Right. Like, for example, people ask about if they force vaccination, would you take it? Well, if they're forcing it, you don't have a choice.
Yeah, exactly.
But if there's just saying there's going to be, you can't do anything, can't leave your house if you don't have a vaccine, then I'm prepared to resign to that because, I'm not taking it. It's how they get you sick. It's how they control you with whatever EF waves. They put the stuff in you, the toxins in you, so you have a virus response. And
exactly.
Yeah, so the less you have of that, the better.
You ever wonder why they pick so many people that shouldn't be in the military to be in the military? There are so many tests they run you through and experiments, according to some people, being performed on people that go through infantry and boot camp and different services and the military especially. And I remember when I got my vaccines, I think I got, gosh, this was 2010 or 2009, and I think they got me at least two times, and I really got sick a couple days later, of course, on some sort of movement, over to do some training exercise, and I just got sick. And I never even dawned on me literally until obviously half a decade later. I never put that together. Even waking up to other things, I never thought of it. Not till now, but they have no idea. And that's why they let so many through, because they can't always be guaranteed that everybody's immune to these things that they're putting in their bodies.
Right. And everybody's going to react differently. I mean, that's the thing is it's a combination of things, and it's why it's hard to track and hard to pin them down on what the cause was of something and why one person gets sick and one doesn't, because it's complicated. And that's why they do so many experiments, experiment on an unwitting population. They don't care if anybody dies or is maimed. That's just data for them to collect. But I think I think half of this is a shell game. I mean, they're like, I've got a picture on the screen of what's called a Potemkin village, which is, a facade. It's not what it appears to be. And that's what they do, the deep state. They have a lot of tech, but they also have a lot of flaws and a lot of fake stuff that they're putting out so we think they have it. Because it's the age-old mind game where they could put you in a paper prison and you would think that you can't get out. Just because if you think they have tech, then they, it doesn't matter if they really have it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, fear campaign for sure. Take ye heed every one of his neighbor, and trust ye not in any brother. For
Right.
Every brother will utterly supplant, and every neighbor will walk with slander, and they will deceive every one his neighbor, and will not speak the truth. The habitation is in the midst of deceit. Through deceit they refuse to know me, saith the Lord. And that's what this world is. And it's not, people don't understand. They always think of the Illuminati, Paula. And they always talk about these higher echelon. What are you talking about? Look at some of the things your friends have done in life that you used to hang out with. Look at the things that I can just look at somebody with a suit on TV, and there's a 90% chance they've committed some crime and are getting protected for it. That's what society is right now. Society is a society and a nation that says all men are created equal. When they just got done killing 50 million people, of not of the type of men that they were. And Christians want to pretend that they trust in the Constitution. You're not a Christian. For one, you're stupid because you haven't read it. Because if you read it, any sane person is going to say, wait a minute, this is really self-centered and satanic, and it's basically justifying the capture of this land that they've captured is why they've done this. So how could that be something good? We're greatly deceived. The brainwashing has never been greater, Paul. The deceit is so bad. I have been so flabbergasted for so long and very busy with so many amazing things. This world deserves much worse than some fake TV virus, Captain.
Right. Exactly. That's why I'm saying this is nothing yet. This is a wake-up call. Like I did a few weeks ago. I did a live stream and I called it wake-up call. Because God can use, I mean, it's not like any of this took him by surprise. And the thing is that Christians are at least waking up to the fact that the building isn't the church. And that you're supposed to be able to stand on your own and give an account for your faith and not be spoon-fed. You don't go to a building to be spoon-fed and call that Christianity. And because Christianity in the West has been used to that, people have no clue how to behave in this situation. And they're doing well, I think, in spite of that. Having drive-ins or whatnot, or live streaming. But it's just, it's amazing how people can surprise you that you wouldn't think would adapt to that on one hand. On the other hand, is, like I said, these commercials are saying the new normal, and conditioning people that this is not going to go away. But that remains to be seen. We just don't know. And I think they're seeing how we react to it, even at this point.
In real time.
Yeah, exactly. It's a live exercise. But the real thing isn't here yet.
Yeah. That's the thing. They're able to do something, get in real time, get a response. Do something, get a response. They are on this totally 100% in real time, and they can call it off if they want, which they're not. We all know that. We all saw the. I got a bunch of videotape and pictures of them hauling tanks across the straits, Humvees, suppression vehicles. No aid.
It's
That
apparently a
blows
big
my
deal,
mind.
Brian. Sorry to interrupt you, Brian. It's apparently such a big deal that I think it's 2013, in this one rap song with, I forget the guy's name, sorry, and I'm sure we'll find it later, and I'm sure people know how to use Google. We'll worry about that when we get to that road. Sorry, I can't tell you the information. I'm going to make the claim. If you don't want to agree with me, that's fine, obviously. The Coronavirus 2020, Buddy Stackin' was some lyrics from 2013, and gosh, that's weird. And it doesn't matter. Even if they didn't show me that, Brian, I'd be ignorant. Right. I'd be ignorant to still believe people that congregate to information given to people on TV. If you believe that, you're already wrong. You didn't get off the starting line. You're still sitting on the starting line if you think stuff is going to be true to you that's told you on TV from any of them, period. It is of this world. It is the spitting image, the greatest, most powerful worldly device that man and Satan combined were able to come up with, and that is the paying to be literally mass deceived. And millions of people knew that and knew that they would do it. They would pay for it. That's why they knew that millions of people would do this. People pay for their television. They pay for that news. If you watch it, you're wrong, let alone pay for it. And that's why it is the great deception. Just there's so many tentacles, Brian, but they already have control of this world. It's not of God. It is not of the Father. And this really surprises me because this is showing. Now, I'm not going to get into the discussion. I'm just going to bring it up and run from it because I'm not a contender. But this does show some legitimacy, though, that morally, I think the pre-tribulation people have a very good argument, just morality-wise. I think that they're trying to, since people are discussing this topic and so many make it such a viral issue, Paula, and so many get so insulting over it, and I don't really have a say-so in this topic, I think that they're right morally. And I think that's my it just seems like they want it to happen. You want this to get, because this exposed that this scared 3 billion, supposedly 3 or 4 billion people into submission this easily, then we're a lot worse than what I thought. I mean, this wasn't just in North America.
Agreed.
Right? It wasn't just in North America. It was over every part of this controlled plane. And they have us pretty much exactly where they want us, because look at how small. I've always loved being the minority. Let me tell you, there's nothing better, right? But, you know, they're really upset about God. They really hate God, and they are going to go forward with their plans. And again, remember how I said it's not the people at the top, it's the whole system and the people that allow it, that condone it, and that justify it. We're not just talking about people that are billionaires with suits on. It's actually going to get much worse than that. And God is righteous, though, and God is the ultimate love. And love means that there's going to be a justice. And these people will face justice, and God will see it, and there's nothing they can do about it. And ultimately, that's the final judgment that matters. And this is showing, I mean, I really thought that we were 20 years away from this type of scenario, and it's right at our back door now. And even out here in the rural country areas, just north of Mexico, it hasn't affected this area as much as it has in other places, because this is, for some reason, the Wild West is caught off. I have no idea why.
Same up here, up north in Michigan, same thing. Go ahead.
Right. I can tell because the gas prices stayed the same. If you're in an area where the gas prices have gone down significantly, that means your people are freaking out and going absolutely crazy and staying in their homes and just literally subduing themselves like very faithful servants to their slave masters and, of course, Satan. That's what these people have done. And it's really ripped the mask. Even the irony is everybody's putting on a mask. No, it's ripped your mask off. It's really telling where we're going with it. And honestly, think about this. There's no way these people are, look, even in these communities with Christians and extreme people that would be very against the system, this deceives a wave of people. Some people even call themselves flat earthers that were scared to death of this virus, and they don't even know what a virus is. And we go down that.
Yeah, exactly.
And that conversation, that's just a whole nother deal that I don't care about. But it's obvious that people always want to claim that they know something and they understand something, but it's not something that they've experienced, Brian. It's something they're told to believe, which was the whole
correct,
to get away from people telling you what to believe. So this really opened up a hornet's nest. And here's why I feel bad. I feel bad because I laugh in a way, because it's embarrassing to God, and I have to laugh in a cringe manner to literally let it off my shoulders, and sometimes I giggle about it. I'm sorry about that, Brian, but that is
because they're getting away with it. That's why.
Well, but this world is a joke, and that's why it's going to get destroyed. It's not going to get destroyed, Brian, because it might need to be saved, or it's kind of good, and there's some things we need to save, Brian. We can actually do this and save this part, or actually you and I can get together and we'll start a commission, and we'll try to. No, it's not that. The whole thing needs to be destroyed because they've decided they hate God. It's not about you. And the fact is, they love themselves. They are God, and that's why it's all the same. And everybody goes, well, what about this other religion that existed 1,000 years before the Bible was written? I go, yes, Satanism is older than the Bible. Thanks.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. And the thing is that it's an opportunity like anything else. You remember all those twos that happened with my mom's passing that I told you, at least one of you about?
You did.
There's like 15 of them in a row, associated with between her stroke and her passing. And from what I could look up, it meant either a crossroad, like a fork in the road, or what I say is some kind of change. Either way you look at it, any of the sources is some kind of change. I'm pretty sure this is what it was. We're getting at some kind of vague heads up about what was about to happen. And the thing is that you don't get messages like that for just anything, I don't think. And what it's a heads up for is all I can see in front of me to do is that as Christians we need to be serious about the faith and not get distracted, and to be examples of what Jesus would do if he was still here in the flesh. And that's, just not to go to either extreme prepping where you're in a bunker or something and no good to anybody but yourself, or the other extreme where you're careless and you don't even follow the scriptures that say store up for the winter. Look at the ants. They don't have a king,
Right.
but they store up. And I would hope that a lot more Christians are taking that as an opportunity and not just evil. Yes, there's all sorts of things that, just like with 9/11, there, like TSA got installed and we lost a bunch of travel rights. Now we're going to lose a lot more, even internal travel. That was external. This is internal. And that's not going to, I don't think that's going to go away. But I think businesses will run a little bit better. But one of the things that we're seeing is to get rid of the small businesses who aren't as easy to control because they're small. So there will be stuff. It will just be, it just took another giant step toward what used to be, we were told happening in like Soviet Russia, where, people would stand in line for blocks just to get a roll of toilet paper, Here we are.
Exactly. The only thing that's different is the gas price in most areas. That's what got me off.
That's what you're excited about. That's why you're happy, Brian.
No, that's what made me sad. Because when I realized the gas price was so low, then that meant we were screwed.
Right. You knew, right? That's a telltale sign. But out here in the Old West, time just doesn't catch up with this place. And, it's really weird because I'm still paying $2.30 a gallon. And in California, It's like $1.50.
That's crazy.
And someplace it was 90 cents. And there's all these, people are talking about that on the Flat Earth Discord channel, about like they have such obviously a wonderful, different group of truth seekers, right? So I guess they're telling me the truth that it's 89 cents a gallon somewhere. I'm not seeing it because I'm in Southern Arizona. Again, the 10th time I've said it, sorry. This place.
Michigan here.
From the world. I've teleported. I'm telling you, Brian.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm telling you, Brian, out here, it's just, there's something different about it. I don't have time to get into it tonight. I moved to Washington for 6 months and drove back. I was too far north, and God didn't want me there. And I drove back down here, back to where I was. And it's on the same, you would say, parallel as Israel, if you could pretend that we know that where our parallel lines are from any map, which is another, but it is the same landscape as well. So it's someplace where I do want to stay for a little while longer, but you know what, I think 10 years is a long time, and if it's 10 years from now, then that's still a long time. That gave me more than enough time to do what I need to do. But I saw a lot of things, Brian. I learned a lot of things. Everything is fast forwarded so much up to this point, and now with this boost, I just can't believe it. It's just this is the last 4 years, last 6 years, Paula, have been the absolute fastest time. I think I've done as many things as I did in the first 25 years. It has been nothing but just fast forward, go. I had 8 fish, 2 tortoises, and 2 cats in my freaking truck, Brian. And the fish were in the water, of course. I got pulled over in Oregon, and I had to show the police officer, like, hey, I don't know your gun laws. Sorry, I had my weapons in the front seat, but I should have put them on the dashboard, and that's against the law. Okay, I have fish in a fish tank right here. It was, and then, there wasn't a point where it got easy, bro. And then all of a sudden there was this weather shift thing. And I was literally just popping around the state, just so I could go see my son, Brian.
Right.
And I already learned. And we left. I had learned so many things. We went to see our son, and it turns out our son is being drugged and hidden, and we didn't know that. So we were absolutely shocked, and we literally cursed the ground we were walking on, and we had to leave. That's with reporting it to police and adult protective services and all kinds of things like that. And that's more fun conversations to have in the near future. Brian, don't worry, I'll explain everything. Yep. I do want to mention one thing that today is Paula's mother's birthday.
Yes, it is. She's her first birthday in heaven.
Right. Amen.
Happy birthday.
Barely.
Wish we could tell her in person.
Yeah. Amen. 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 No, I'm sure she is. There's not a greater man than John the Baptist ever born of a woman, but the least of those that that's in heaven. So, She left this world before it went absolutely insane, and it was the timing is absolutely unbelievable, Paula.
Right.
That such a drastic change, the biggest change, and maybe we're talking since World War II. We're not talking about, these people don't understand this type of worldwide change is something that happens when there's a world war. Last time that happened was 1940, 1940s. World War II, of course, ended in 1945. Excuse me. And now in 2020, the whole world now is on its knees, and the government is just giving money. It's okay, gonna whatever it is, give money, and sometimes that's a good thing. And but you know that what they're doing is obviously just fast forwarding God's prophecy. And I tell people, because I know a lot of are worried, I tell them God's not worried. Why don't we have faith in God? God isn't worried about this. Do you understand the things that he's capable of, that he's already done? This is exposing things. This is fast forwarding things that has to happen for a reason. Remember, all things will work together for good to those that are called according to his purpose. It doesn't say some things. It says all things will work together for good. So this is going to make sense. And that's the thing. You don't have understanding. Drop your understanding. Let God know that you trust him, and then he'll give you the understanding.
That makes perfect sense. It really does. Yep. You know, you guys were just talking about death, and this is weird because in the last year and a half, 2 years, I guess you can say God saved my mom, my dad, and my grandma, all. This is like you were just talking about, and all that, all these things happening. It's all within the last year and a half to 6 months, and then just recent. But they took them away from what's about to happen. Right. It just dawned on me the other day. Wow, I didn't realize all this was coming together for this, like Pillbox was just saying.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely on radar as far as not just another day in the life, not just another day in history. This is because it's worldwide, and because it has been designed, covered in lies, saturated in lies, but people who didn't see the evil in governments before are now seeing it. And that's a big deal. And I think this is God's grace allowing people to, doing the most, last-ditch thing to get people to wake up and say, there's other things we need to be thinking about besides sports. Oh, you can't watch sports now. There's nobody allowed in the stadiums. And all the usual things they used to do are shut down. They can't go to a bar. They can't, half the time you can't go to a church or a park or a beach or something, if there's too many people. And this is what it takes to get people's attention, unfortunately. It takes a disaster.
The part that sucks on top of all this is all the elite have their underground cities, their dumbs all hooked together. They're kicking back, watching movies that they all made together. Oh, yeah, I remember being in that one. They fell for it. Look at that. Mm-hmm. We told them in this movie. Look at this. You know what I mean? I just was thinking about that. In the last 100 years, they built themselves up a huge library. So however long they're down, they think they're safe. But however long they're down there, they got themselves a mass source of media. You know what I mean?
Right.
Well, look at all the B-rated movies that were made. That when you were growing up, you're like, why did they make that? That makes no sense at all. Well, it had a plot, and the plot meant something. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, yeah, it's been CIA and other alphabet agencies running propaganda through the media for the longest time. They've openly stated that they've had, Project Mockingbird with the media to cover for them. And the schools, if you read John Dewey and the other humanists of the era, setting up American school system and other school systems, and the purpose was to get kids away from their parents, give them so much homework and have such a long school day and extracurricular activities, so their parents couldn't compete with a once a day or once a week Sunday school or whatever. And they specifically said Sunday school. That's what their target is. and they want the state to own your children. They want the state to own their minds and hearts. And that's what they've got pretty much. I mean, everybody wants to believe the mainstream media and what they were told in school and believe what again, that picture I got on the screen, the Potemkin village, that's their reality. And they don't like people stepping out of the box, but they know that somebody's always going to do that. But I think even they must be surprised at how many quote unquote normies are waking up because they pushed it too far again. But the question is, how long will they remember it? Because they have the memory of a goldfish. Some people might stay awake, but others are going to go back to sleep.
Well, yeah, now they're controlling everything. It's just another book burning with them putting everything online. They can control it. They can change it as they see fit.
Yep. You mentioned book burning. I mean, that's what I've said before. That's what even the awake people, those conspiracy people, are going, oh, history is all fake. Well, isn't that convenient for those who want you to forget it so you don't see what's coming because you've burned the books for them? You know? Especially the Bible. They want that burned most of all, but everything else now is up for grabs. It's like, no, there was no Holocaust. I mean, yeah, the numbers were faked, but that doesn't mean nothing happened.
Correct.
And there doesn't mean there wasn't a war. And my father was in World War II, and his father, did this and that, and they have to call everybody liars in their genealogies and their family trees and family, documents and things, and call them all liars.
They can't be all liars.
Right. That's the problem. And, but now because of that, they invent this Mandela thing. Oh, those pages were changed. It isn't what you remember. It's just this thing. It's a perfect gaslighting.
The whole thing was they released a bunch of good information mixed in with a bunch of bad, and they had us chasing our tails. That was the point.
Yep.
They had us thinking that we were kind of getting ahead and being able to help spread the information while they gathered their pawns, set it all up, and now they're making their move, and then we were caught with our pants down. That's exactly what just happened.
Yep. People weren't paying attention to this thing that was coming. There was stuff going on last fall.
Yep.
And
yep. In New York. Yep.
Yeah, and nobody, hardly, people would talk about, this or that happened. What does it mean? But they get so distracted on so many other things. I mean, like Mandela, again, it's become something of a religion to people. And they talk about you being a Mandela denier, just like people will say you're a science denier or this or that denier. That's the same code word. The same kind of people will use that denier word to ostracize you if you don't go along. And it's so transparent. It just amazes me what kind of people fall for that.
Yeah, well, yeah, they've mixed in some truth with a lot of fiction, and a lot of people are getting stuck at that point, and that's the problem. That's exactly the problem.
Yep. I think Pillbox is back. He dropped out for a second. You back with us?
Yes, I really never left. I just had to check a message somebody sent me. Charlie and Cat was saying something a minute ago. Let me go ahead and read this, even though I was going to ask him, should I read that? He said, I ordered another case of, okay, here we go. Now I get it. I ordered another case of Bibles to hand out whenever and decided to get the NIV NT instead of course, the ESV NT again. And I was shocked when they came. It was the whole Bible, not just the New Testament, 20 for $60. Awesome. Wow, man. That's work right there. That's awesome.
See, I have another question for you guys on this one. If everything's shut down pretty much, all your mom and pop stores and all that, I understand Amazon's going and all these big ones, but if you're putting orders in online and everybody's pretty much shut down, how are the orders getting to you?
Well, right now they're having people deliver it.
As soon as I explain that they got duped and so on and so on, they all agree with me. They all agree. If you come out and attack them saying, hey, you're a baby killer, you were this and that, they won't agree. But if you show them truth, you put the facts out there, they nod and they don't like nodding. It's like swallowing something and moving on. But I've noticed that they're all on the same page. They signed up for something that they didn't necessarily know what it was. You
guys hear me?
Yep, you're good.
Yeah, I don't know if we're still live, but I'm trying to get back to my YouTube studio page.
It looks like we're still up and running.
Yeah, it looks like you made it. I was watching it.
Okay,
so full speed ahead.
Trying to get back to that so I can get back to, so it doesn't time out on me.
Off.
Yeah. Oh, there we are. Let's start that back up. Okay, I think I got there.
Let us know. Okay, yes, live. Okay.
Good. Yeah, hydrodynamic propulsion system engaged.
Yeah, good old solid state drive, or it would have probably not made it.
My flux capacitor is not working.
Yeah. I mean, I was in the middle of something, and all of a sudden blue screen, and I'm like, no, not now. Oh, well.
It's always when you get good. And when you get into that spot, either a troll will come in and try to interrupt you and take you off course, or they'll cut the stream like that. It happens almost every time on all your major good information streams.
Yep. Couldn't have what we were talking about, I guess, huh?
Anytime you bring God in and the truth, there he is.
Yeah. Well, I'm just glad I was able to get back, because it's like, finally got some people on panel, which I was going to whine about Sunday, and then it crashes on me.
Well, as soon as that happened, we know they're skewing the watchers anyway, but that dropped. So everybody, like normal, if it starts to go, they go, oh, okay, they're done. They go move on. They do that on purpose because they know half the people won't stick around and refresh, or I don't even refresh anymore, because then sometimes that kicks you out of the chat. I'll turn around, if I'm on my computer, I'll open another tab just in case, because they like to close things out early and you're stuck out of the chat. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I think it froze the screen, though. I don't know if the chat's moving, but it's not sending video anymore from our call. Hey, let me type something.
Hold on. Yeah, it is. You're coming across as you're probably like 3 minutes behind, and it's still showing up.
Oh, okay. I was trying to see if the chat is moving at all.
I can see the chat moving right now. It is.
Okay. Yeah, but it won't give me I'm afraid to mess with it, to try to get the video back on. Oh, well.
Okay, and the chat that's actually on your screen is off, right behind.
What is it?
Oh, it moved on the screen. The chat moved. I have the YouTube chat on there.
It's behind a little bit. That's all.
Right, but it's I don't have the, not that it was any big deal, but it showed who was talking on the main part of the screen, and that's frozen.
I got you.
Of course, that's how it's going to be.
Showing for us.
Should have known.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I can see it here in Hangouts, but it's not showing on YouTube. Oh, well.
Well, I'm letting you know YouTube is showing. Your thing
This is called ghostwriting.
Okay.
Yeah. So don't worry about it. Run like it is. You just can't see it.
Yeah, it's just showing a black, half the screen is black. That's all.
Yep.
Oh, well. So where were we before all that happened? I don't remember what I was saying.
We're at a point where people are talking about the end of the world everywhere. And that's why I know it's not going to be now. But this is what shows that's how it really got everybody to realize to be put in check. And there's part of a backfiring system. Everything Satan does or plans for is also going to have a return favor. That's how, all the glory goes to God, because that's how good God is. God just has to fold his arms and say, my word will be so. And that's it. So nothing's going to change God's plan. I asked, there's a large truth movement, talking to 24/7, of course, that talks about how we need to wake people up about this 5G. And I say, What difference does it make? If they're just going to start, if you think people are just going to start lighting on fire everywhere, then we're already at the end. We're already at some sort of tribulation or some sort of rapture or some sort of explosion is already going to happen. You're not going to stop it anyway, and you don't understand. It says right here again, all things will work together for good. So it's not about what we think. The Bible says right here, Brian, it says, preach this word to every creature in the world. Right. It doesn't say, it just doesn't say act like you can save everything or any of this, or say we got to plan a militia and a resistance and all this stuff. The only way you need to prep is honestly spiritually. Everything else is secondary after that. None of that right. Physical stuff matters. And that's why I some of the other days said, it was actually, no, you won't believe it. It was a woman. There was a woman in the 24/7 Flat Earth Discord channel that said, you guys aren't going to be able to defend yourselves against an army. And I thought, of course, a woman is the person to come and tell you this thing, because men have no idea, Brian.
We're hard-headed at times, yeah.
Their pride is so greatly deceived. That's why God hires women as teachers for people that have a hard time understanding this. I know it's very odd for some people to understand that women are teachers. You're okay with them being 90% of the curriculum teachers in college and schools and kindergartens. But when it comes to them, one of the most important things, and all of a sudden women can't be teachers. I just want to put that as a side note, Brian, if you haven't noticed.
You're right.
And that's where we're at. We're in the Great Deception. Where can I turn on a channel of a Christian that I can listen to and go, oh, okay, good. I'm glad this guy's figured something out here. You can't. There isn't one. Look at the guys that we used to consider great. And that's terrible. There's still a man, but look how bad Ken Hovind is now. Ken Hovind is just being a psychopath.
Oh, I know.
Then you moved on to Flat Earth. You got the problem is like the Rob Skiba movement, Brian. They hang out with these they hang out with Zen Garcia, who basically doesn't believe in the Bible. I don't know how to put this lightly. You don't believe in the Bible, but you're saying these things about the Bible. And Rob Skiba, you're telling me that you are this evangelical, and you even try to pretend that you understand Yohe-Vahe in the Bible, and then you make a name out of it. That's not God's name. So I should have known then. That's how, again, this is the deception. Everybody's deceived.
Yep.
Everybody's deceived, Brian. So that guy who was the spitting image of like a captain of the Flat Earth Army crew absolutely screws up in the most important place, Brian. You can't allow that. What Paul said, I'm sure Paula knows, that Paul said, if you teach any other gospel, you are to be accursed. What is there not to understand about this? If you teach another gospel, you are to be accursed. And amen. Yes, if it's another gospel, then it's a lie. I heard the other day the guy was talking about, I'm sorry, God bless him. Some of you are nice people. Everybody's deceived. But somebody was talking about Mormonism, and he's completely ignoring the public teachings that are evil, that should be denounced. And he's talking about how good of people are. I know people can be good here and there. I'm sure there's some nice Catholics out there.
There's some nice Satanists.
Right. I'm sure there's, right. I used to know him. Yeah, his name was Steve Vest. What a nice guy. He still owes me $50. You know what I mean? Like, that's how you know. Right. But that's not the point. The point, these are false doctrines. You do not teach other, and isn't it amazing? And you won't believe this. Islam, Brian, and I'll take the blunt of the blame for this. Don't be mad at Paula about it. She's not my controller. She's not making me say this. Islam is to Mormonism as steak and potatoes. They're literally made by the same demon. I know these are harsh words right now. Mormonism is like the white man's Islam. It's really weird. Like, as far as culturally,
what black pope. Yes.
Well, you got a Middle Eastern. Some people say that the Catholic Church invented. It was obviously another demon. Probably came down and gave this amazing experience to maybe possess these people to make these claims. I'm no doubting it was a supernatural experience if there was anything at all, or the people never existed. But Muhammad and Joseph Smith are the same evil. They put it that way. They are the same beings. They literally have the same spirits. They're possessed by the same spirit.
Right.
They tell the same stories. And we're talking about millions and millions and millions and millions and following this. Here's the amazing thing. All these religions, including Catholics, all these religions, we don't have to name them all, guys. And some of them are better than others, no doubt. They all claim to believe the Bible, Brian. Do you
Yeah,
understand?
exactly. Yeah.
Do you understand that? Do you understand that all of Islam will claim that they believe the Bible is true? Most is that are even half smart about what they know the Quran says and teaches that the Bible has no error. Now they'll probably say the Old Testament, and they still won't believe that though. You bring up the Old Testament where it shows you Jesus in the Old Testament, and it shows God coming in, literally Jesus. Sometimes you could even see him in the Old Testament as like coming in halfway. Like we'll get into it later, Brian, but they won't believe it. They can't believe. They'll say God is the Savior, but then say it's not. It can't be the Messiah.
Yeah.
And when you ask them, you go, well, how is God supposed to come down here? How is God supposed to be here amongst us? So what ends up happening, Brian, is that there's a big argument, and even a lot of people that call themselves believers in the Bible will end up at a crossroads. And here's one of the biggest deceptions, Brian. It's that people agree with the Muslims and the Mormons and the Catholics and the truth movement. And these are the big truthers that are respected. I won't name names. These are the respected truthers that people go, oh, this guy's a great flat earth guy, Brian. And, nice to meet you. And we're all, friends. But they're actually preaching Satanism.
Correct.
Brian. Okay, this is the highest. I mean, this is the people that children are turning on to. I want to listen to these people talk about flat earth. I can't believe they're talking about this. And then they're going to hear some guy talk about, his own literal anti-scripture belief system, and he claims he believes the Bible. What does that do to people? That's the confusion is the great, like, that's what this is. It's just mass hysteria.
You're taking pieces of a puzzle, creating another small puzzle that doesn't look at all what it is.
That means everybody claims they believe in the Bible except atheists. So everybody else who's also wrong spiritually, 90%, the vast majority, I'm making up statistics as I go along, sorry. The vast majority of these people that call themselves spiritual, oh yeah, the Bible's right. Yeah. Look, yeah, it says right here that, it says vengeance is mine. Oh, saith the Lord. So they'll leave out saith the Lord part.
Mm-hmm.
They are God. Mm-hmm. Actually, they are a God, so they can even say, well, yeah, that's me. Actually, that's speaking for me because we're all God. That's what they teach ultimately, that they're all gods. Here's the point. Watch where this goes to. And then you can meet the good one. Let me tell you this, Brian, because I've been doing a lot of research lately in person, in reality. Meeting these people, talking to them, you'll meet the people that believe the Old Testament fully, like they're basically kind of like the Jews, but also the New Testament. But they will claim, and I'm just trying to put this out here, Brian. They will claim that Jesus is not God, though. Do you understand this, Brian?
Yeah.
Okay. So then you have another group, the Muslims, that say, well, we believe the Bible too, but Jesus is not God. Then you have the Mormons that say, we believe the Bible, but actually ours is more accurate, which says Jesus was a man before he was God. So they don't believe the Bible, but everybody claims they believe the Bible. There's no difference. Guess what? Here's how bad it is, Brian. There's no difference in the people calling themselves Christians with the most popular Christian gatherings on the internet. That's where we're all right now, including people listening if they forgot. So we're talking about the internet. All these other places where 90%, the vast majority, whatever statistics you make up, sure, everybody's deceived. Everybody literally does not believe the Bible, except the people that are not her, the people that are very small, the people that literally are just advocating for things like women being allowed to speak and just simple things like that. I can't get Dean Odell to acknowledge, for your sake, Paula, I can't get him to listen and go, they shouldn't be talking to that person that way. That would be the first mistake, and to address it. They can't do it, and they're the best we have, Paula. That's the best they have to offer right now, are these so-called Christians that don't believe in the Bible either. And I don't know if they're saved or not because they claim it's all about Jesus. So it doesn't matter what they say, Brian, you will know them by their fruit.
Yes.
Boy,
I'm
and
this
place is in big trouble, Brian.
I'm telling you, when I met you guys, I was closest to being an atheist as you can get. And when I found out about flat earth, and then that opened my eyes to, okay, there's a dome, there's a ceiling, there's a firmament. Okay, maybe you guys have something that I don't know about. You know what I mean? At that point, I realized there was something more than myself. I want a side note. There's somebody that I was talking to that lately I can tell that they were they say they believe in God and Jesus and stuff like that, but you were pointing out a good point. They kept using the word science in their preachings or in their talking with me. They would also say that they are God or God is in them at the same time. They'll use that back and forth. And I just started seeing that a lot. And yeah, you're right about that. 100%. I never noticed that until just recently after my eyes opened and all this. I'm just saying your eyes open in stages like an onion layers, you know what I mean? And I'm finally getting to a certain point with other things. And I know I'm ahead in other things, but this one I was behind. But thank you guys. But go ahead.
Oh, that's how it works. I mean, yeah, there's some people have what they call a Damascus Road experience. You get knocked off your high horse and suddenly you see, and other people, it's gradual. It's just, it isn't one size fits all. But times being what they are, was an awful lot of people sound asleep who finally, at least for the time being, are awake a little bit. Like I said, I hope it lasts for people, but it won't last for all of them, because all they need is to get back to their routine and they'll go back to sleep.
Yes, that's happening here right now. Let me say something. It's on topic, off topic. Everybody around here in my town is still allowed to go to and fro to the store and stuff like that. They're getting complacent. They're starting to act like, nah, this is going to blow over. So going back to what you're saying, they're doing the same thing in that aspect where they're just, everything's going to be fine. Everything's normal. Look where we're at. Look, everything. There's no tanks. What are you talking about? That's over there.
Right.
But go ahead.
But it's like it's the way they always do things. The deep state is they'll take everything from you, give some back, and you're happy.
Yes.
So that's what they'll do. I mean, it's never going to be exactly the way it was, and in some ways that's good. There are opportunities to fix some things, but not much is going to get fixed. They'll give us a few crumbs, and pacify the masses, so they put down their pitchforks and torches, and then they have gained whatever it is they wanted to gain in the first place.
I'll tell you one thing. Since all this, I've gone on I don't know, my body naturally started fasting, where I'm eating less. And the weird thing is my drive, my how do you say it? My go. I'm injured, but I'm sleeping 3 hours a night, and I'm not having an issue. Why? And this is just to give a backup story. And I think God did this on purpose to prepare me for this. Was when you're younger, He put us through traumatic experiences, so then certain things were embedded in us. So now, when these things are happening now, we are relating to those things and falling back on them. Some things are going to be bad, some things are going to be good. For me, it woke me up enough. My dad was a drunk. I don't drink. There's certain things that happened that I don't do because of that. Now, because of that, that's placed me in a not a better position, but a position where I understand more than others. And thank God to you, Misty, and I have a couple other ones that kept with me, understood. Like when we met, I still partially, even though I understood it was flat. No, we're still related to monkeys. You don't know what you're talking about. You know what I mean? I had to go through that progressional stage, and it's hard to get people up to speed when they didn't see it. And that's the problem we're running across. And that's why we're only going to get to a very few, like it says.
Right.
And that, I wish we could get to more, but it says it right there.
Yeah, that's just the normal condition of mankind in general, is the remnant. That's what the Bible talks about it. And Jesus said the same thing when he said that the road to destruction is wide and many travel it. That's just how it is. It's just like 1/3 of people have enough sense to wake up and stay up, and
the rest of the herd mentality.
Yeah, that's just how it is. But we have a choice. I mean, it's not a fate. if anybody was getting that impression, that it's not a fate, it's something you choose every day.
The other thing that I just recently, I guess you can say, went through was like everybody else. We went through the panic stage. You know, you have your 12 steps, which that I'm not referring to that at all. I'm just saying steps where we were in denial, acceptance, and I finally, how do you say it? Me and you have been talking. I don't know if you noticed in the last, like I was talking with Misty too. In the last 2 days, I've noticed a big change in me to where there's only so much you can do. If you stress if you even try to think about stuff too much, and I let my subconscious do most of it. I just jump off of it and let it work. And I noticed in the last 2 days, I asked God, I'm like, hey, I don't want to be like everybody else and being stressed out, or not just stressed out, but you know, we try to stay ahead of the time. So we're trying to pay attention. So that meant we were staying awake a lot more. That makes you a little bit more stressful, which means that it's taking your edge off, which that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to do this with all of us. So I realized, wait a second, what they're doing is working. I'm like, I can't let them win.
Right.
I can't let them win. I can't do that. So that's when I did a big change in the last 2 days. Now, I'm not fixed at all, but it helped me, how do you say, change my thinking to where instead of panic mode, now it's, oh yeah, I'm panic. I'm still trying to figure things out, but now I can, I guess, lay things out like dominoes and try to set things up so that when this happens. Okay, I'm ready for that. You know what I mean?
Right. You think more clearly when you're not stressed, and you have better health when you're not stressed.
Yep.
That's another thing, is it's trauma-based mind control, all what they're doing to people right now with the job loss, and you can't get government funds if you are supposed to get them, and, you know, people making all those panic runs to the store, and it's just trauma-based mind control. And they've got people stressed out, so that makes them sicker, so they need more, you know, they're more willing to take their shots and go to the doctor and get the treatments that aren't working. That more and more doctors are standing up, and nurses, and saying, no, you don't need respirators. You need vitamin C, vitamin D, and things to get oxygen into your, you know, oxygen exchange into your lungs again. And the intubation and the respirators are counterproductive, because they see a much higher death rate among people who have been put on the respirators, and that's because it's the wrong treatment. You know, and they know this. And even people who didn't want to see it are finally going, yeah, this is not working. And the reason those things are not, and this is them saying this now, you know, medical people saying the reason this has been pushed is because that's their money maker.
Yes.
Yes. You don't make money selling vitamin C.
You know, sorry, let me say something on this one, okay? Just recently, this dawned. I mean, I knew it. Remember, I worked on cell phone towers, so I understand how radiation works. I understand how late, you know, site to site, blah blah blah. I understand how all that works. Anyway, my grandma's dying, so I found out. I didn't know she was dying. I didn't know they put her in a home. I was pissed. I'm like, what are you guys doing? You know, this is wrong. You know, nobody dies in a home. This ain't happening. So I was taking 400-mile trips, going to see her twice a week. You know, you got people that were 5-10 miles, you know, grandsons. And this was the most awesomest grandma ever. She never treated any of us wrong, and nobody's seen her. Anyway, my point here is, as I'm taking my break, when I'm over there, you know, I stay a couple nights. I travel home, clean up, stay a night, and then I travel back, stay for a couple nights. With me going up and down those the flights and walking past all these rooms of these people dying, I'm realizing certain things. And one of the things I realized, one was the Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth being pushed through there. You got all these people sick. And all they're doing is making them sicker with all the Wi-Fi and everything. So that's just pumping that system further along.
You know what I mean? It's just making them sicker. They're giving them some medication to keep them along, keep them coming along. And I get this. It dawns on me. I'm like, wait a second. You know what? How hospitals, they're set up for two things. For things to enter the world and things to exit the world. And I'm like, wait a second. As soon as we come in, boom, they're nailing us with that vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to stop that whole bond with God, and then they start teaching you about the ball, the whole 9 yards. Then you get to the end of the road, you're in the same I don't want to say okay, I'm trying to stay away from swearing. The same freaking place, and now they're leeching off of those people. Because I don't know if a whole lot of people know this. A lot of you do, but when you're watching your family members get to a certain stage, they stop giving them food and water. So at that point, their body starts cannibalizing itself. They give them morphine to help ease through, but you're still suffering. When I watch these old people, and then the lady comes in, okay, we'll give her a medicine. Well, at one point, I remember my grandma was, now I'm not doing this as boohoo, I'm just saying this is a story, okay? I remember my grandma was sleeping, and the nurse came in, and she makes the comment, oh, she's sleeping, I'll just give her meds later. I instantly stood up, and because I had heard that this is the kind of nurse that's been doing this lately. And what happens when you do that, you got somebody that's already on their way out, and if you miss that dose, they're going to put them into that frantic state quicker,
mm-hmm.
which is a suffering state. So I started realizing, are they doing this on purpose? I literally started really thinking about it, and I'm going from, now this is a big facility, and they got floor after floor after floor after floor. I'm thinking, wow, this whole thing has been built up to get them coming in and get them coming out. They get them coming in, stamp them. You got confusion also, with those new babies coming into this world, trying to figure out what's going on, blah, blah, blah. Then they nail you with that vaccine. That's what I mean by stamping. And there you go. You are now interrupted. Now, on the way out, they got you cannibalizing yourself. They got you suffering until you finally, your body gives up. And that just all dawned on me. It just like, wow, this is all satanic. They got us coming in. They got us going out. They got the whole world right now on the same wavelength, the same vibe, thinking everything's bad. You know what I mean? So when you get the whole mindset of all this happening at once, that can change the dynamic of everything. And that's what they're counting on. You know what I mean? So all these things in my life that just happened is helping me now. I hate that I had to go through that, and that. But when this is starting to happen, boom, it opened my eyes. Like, wow, that's why I decided to get back on lately. Because when your eyes start opening, and you realize, okay, you're pretty much screwed anyway. I might as well try to help out the ones that are lost. Maybe I can say something, and something I can help out will help them out. If not, hey, I led you to the water, you didn't drink. I'm sorry. That's your responsibility at that point.
Right. I've been saying that for years, for Christians and regarding evangelism is spend a little time, a reasonable amount of time seeing if somebody's even open. To stand there and pummel somebody who doesn't have any interest in the topic, and here you can expand that to any topic, whether it's quote-unquote conspiracy theories or anything. Why continue day after day to bash the same people over the head, even though it's, you want them to understand, but you already know yourself that they won't, and they don't want to hear it. And this has gotten into a sick habit, I think, online on a lot of the live streams, is just continually go over the same people with the same arguments, and people find it entertaining, I guess. I don't know. That's
And they're
pretty
not getting
sad.
anywhere.
Right.
They're chasing their tails. Yeah, go
Right.
ahead.
And nobody cares what they're talking about, if it's true or false, the powers that be, because it's a merry-go-round. And they know it. And you're
Exactly.
not going to pay attention to anything else, or actually, here's the thing, is especially for Christians, is affect other people positively. If you're spending all your time in this negative mud pit, all the time on what's wrong with somebody else,
Yes.
you can't live there. I mean, yes, it's true that Jesus flipped tables and chased people with a whip, but he didn't do that every day. That wasn't where he lived.
No,
And
he was showing you what needs to be done at certain times.
right.
And then you get back to normal. If you have to do that, you have to do that. That's the way it works.
Right.
Go ahead.
But it should be your last resort. It should
Exactly.
be. And
Exactly.
he did, what he did also with the flipping tables was a prophetic fulfillment as well. But we're not doing that. But at the same time, like you said, there's times when you have to step up and intervene. And there's other times when you need to be patient and let people go or shake the dust from your feet. So this is just, the same principle that applies so many places, but especially Christians should know it. When to give, somebody your ear and give them time and try to work with them. But at some point, you got to cut bait. You have to go on, because it's keeping you from doing something else you're supposed to be doing. And Christians have been ineffective because of that.
Can I ask you a question? Okay. And it's not just to you, this is to the audience also. Okay. Now, I recently, like I said, come to certain conclusions in my head. And I actually sat down, and my wife didn't like it, but we had to talk. And the talk is, what happens if they take one of us? Mm-hmm. And nobody wants to have this talk. Okay. So I'm that guy that I would rather have my bags packed. So when they come to the door, I ask, how many bags am I allowed to take? And now I had to figure out which bags I'm taking. So I forgot where I was at. Sorry. That's another thing they've been doing to us.
Oh, that happens to everybody.
Where was I at? Sorry, if you can help me. Sorry.
They're coming to take you away.
Okay. That's pretty much, yeah. Thank you. When I sat down and had a talk with her and explained, like, we got to actually think about, what if they take one of us away? And this is the agreement that I said, either we agree here or we don't. I said, no, if they take me away, I want you to find somebody, some place, some group, and I'm going to try to set things up right now in case that happens. Now, if it's the flip side, they want to take you. I said, I'm coming with you. I don't know if they're going to separate us. They probably will, but I'm willing to take that chance. But when it's reversed, I explained to her, no, I do not want you to go through what I know what we're going to be going through. And that's a hard pill to swallow, to talk to your mate and to set up many different avenues where, okay, if we make it through this and this happens, okay, good, we're here. If we go this route, if this happens, we're going to have to choose this, or this. I don't know if many people are having this talk with their other, and they should be, because these are the times. We are at the times at hand. People, I never used to think that. I really didn't. But if you do not have that talk with your loved ones, and you guys don't get into a system of a panicky, you don't want a panicky family. You want a family that's, when something happens, they're all ready to react the right way. like having fire drills or other earthquake or tornado drills with your family, stuff like that. You go through the whole scenario, you break it down. So then when you're in those moments, there's no questions asked. Everybody knows pretty much what to do. There's no shock on anybody's face. Yes, they're shocked this is happening, but they already know pretty much what to do. That's what needs to happen. That's why I brought this up.
One thing, yeah, just a couple of things is, one thing if you watch any movies or anything at all is there's usually a good idea to have some sort of innocent text that you could send to someone in your family if you did get taken somewhere. Just send a certain word that means something. And the other thing is about hunkering down or whatever it is, or taking off and hiding. I remember the true story of this family in Russia during the revolutions, right? And they, some of the family was killed and the rest took off and they went to Siberia and they were never caught, but they stayed there for generations. I mean, they were the only people, their family, they barely survived. I mean, it was amazing what they were able to do, but they were totally isolated. They almost starved a few times, and
right.
In the end, you got to ask, who was better off? Was it really better? Yes, we all, have the sane desire to save our lives and try to get away from danger. But in the end, sometimes it's worse if you survive something. Who would want to survive something that wiped out the whole world?
Right.
So
you want to be here left with the crazy ones?
Exactly. I think the best scenario for anybody, as long as you're right with God, is to have a quick and painless death.
Yeah, that would be the go-to. Yes.
So, but the thing is, yeah, we can say that, but when it's you at the firing squad, you're like, oh, wait a minute, I'm changing my mind.
Yeah, that's the thing. When if you don't mind me bringing up something else, but it's coming back into it, is the shot thing. Me and my wife remember there's a couple times I called you and I called a couple other people running ideas off, and the whole thing with the shot, if we're forced, that means we were forced.
Mm-hmm.
That really made sense to me at that point. Because at first I'm like, well, I'm not taking it, and I'm going to fight, and they're probably going to put me in a camp because I thought about it. Then I thought about it. Wait a second. If they're not giving me an option, then that means I'm not willingly taking it.
Right.
So it's I'm literally telling them, do what you're going to do. I'm not willingly taking this, but do what you're going to do. I can't stop me. I can't stop you. It's like somebody holding a gun to your head saying, sign here.
Right. Like they pretty much do, like you were mentioning about, when babies are born at the hospital, they won't let them go without shots.
No, every one of them.
They would call Child Protective Services. Yeah. If you put up too much of a fight. The best you can do is pray for your kids. Yeah, when that happens, that's the best you can do.
I had a buddy just recently. They were just, she was getting ready to pop. And I was running through the whole vaccine thing with them. And they finally started to wake up. Well, they got to a point where when it came time to give the baby the shot, she started asking questions. And she kept saying, well, no, not right now. Let me wait until my husband's in the room so we can talk. So they were purposely staying apart for a little bit so they didn't have to have that talk.
Right.
But while that happened and them trying to figure out what to do, and I'm talking with him, I'm like, you can't, I said, no matter what, you got to stay right there. He was trying to stay out of the room and trying to be there and then be gone. I'm like, no, you got to be right there, because there's going to be a point where all of a sudden you're going to be sleeping, she's going to be sleeping. Mm-hmm. And and then he stops me. He goes, they already did that. I go, then finish what I'm about. I go, when I'm going to finish what I'm going to say, and you just say yes at the end. I said, you guys both fell asleep. They grabbed the baby. They went off, they came back, and you woke up as they were handing you the baby, telling you they just gave him the shots, everything's fine, go back to sleep. And he's like, how did you know? I said, well, this is how I've been studying for a long time. I already had kids. I already know how it is. You know, luckily it was a little easier for me to convince the doctor not to, you know, but who's to say they didn't? I don't know. You know, we can, you know, and the other problem we're having in the flip side of it is, you remember we had some people come out and come out from the CDC, the medication company saying, stop taking medications. Why? They're putting genetic markers in there. When I heard that about a year ago, year and a half ago, whenever it was, I started thinking like, wow, wait a second. Why would you put genetic markers in something? That means you're looking for something. That means you're not looking for something, but when you're looking for something, you're looking for something. So they do the swab. 90% of us are on medications. So, you know what I'm saying? And I don't mean now. I'm just saying sooner or later in the next, I believe in the next, like, say, 10 years, they're going to do this mass cleansing. It's going to be done in sections, pieces, but that's what they're going to do. I don't know if you want to call that timeline, but that's what I'm breaking it down to. And I think people like us in the know are probably one of the first ones that are going, you know. If not, I don't know what to say. I really don't. I'm prepping for me not being here, and my wife. I'm hoping my wife is. If I make it, now I'll deal with it from there and move on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the thing is that we have to make sure that we don't allow it to get under our skin to the point where we're just worried about it all the time. Yeah, it's stressful times. It's normal to be stressed about it, and at the same time, you want people to be upset enough to protest, which at least people are doing in some of the cities, but not to the point where you're losing sleep and your health deteriorates, because, yeah, it's scary if you think about it. But so you know, it's a razor's edge between trying to maintain peace at the same time not losing your own edge when it comes time to stand up and say something. But at the same time, this, I think, in human history, at least on this side of the flood, is unprecedented that they've had the technology to do what they're doing right now. And this is the game changer, and this is why I don't believe anybody who says, you know, oh, none of these prophecies are going to happen in our lifetime. They're already happening.
Exactly.
And the world can't go on the way it is and last that long. So, and people say, oh, you know, in times before this all happened, people would say, oh, you're just, you know, conspiracy, blah, 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 worrying, you know, and make up excuses. But now they're kind of paying attention. And
yeah,
saying,
now you got those people asking you questions, right?
Go ahead. Because, you know, people are posting all kinds of things on social media and whatnot. And did you know this? Did you know this? And I'm like, yeah, this is old hat. We have known about this, but you guys all, you know, nobody wanted to pay attention. Nobody wanted to listen. It was all conspiracy nutcases, you know. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say that almost everybody that I tried waking up in the last 5 to 10 years, since 8 years, let's just say 8, but everybody, oh no, I'll literally say 90% are now messaging me saying, you know, at first they're like, you were right. I'm like, this ain't about me being right. Me being right means things are wrong. So that's I don't want to hear that. Now I just want to hear, you know, are you on the same page? Are we, you know what I mean? So now it's not funny, but in a way it kind of is, because now those people that thought that we were all nuts and conspiracy theorists, they're now looking to us because we understand things ahead of what's going on. And we're not even watching your mainstream news. We might like me and my wife, we watch the president's briefing and our governor's briefing. Then we check out our other sources. That's not CNN, NBC, all that stuff. You know, it's the other channels that are starting to be taken down now. And you know what I mean, getting hit with copyright strikes. Well, that's funny. They gave us this platform. We opened our mouths. We got ourselves out there. Then they took away a lot of the platforms. And then when, in the last like a month and a half, they opened the door back up for everybody. That was a key thing in my thinking, that things were going to go wrong, because here they just opened up a door that they shut for us. That means they want us to talk. They want to hear what we have to say, so then they can play
Right.
by, or I should say play by play, real time. You know what I mean? So they opened it up. Now they listen to what we have to say. They move their pawns into the next piece. And that's another thing we got to talk about, that even them don't even understand that they're pawns.
Exactly.
They're the ones that are getting ready to march on their own people are a pawn to the higher up above them. So you're just a pawn on a pawn on a pawn. They don't even see it. I don't get it. You would think they would understand it, but once your mentality gets into that evil mindset, you actually start believing that the liar ahead of you, that you know is a liar, is going to tell you the truth.
Right.
You know what I mean? Go ahead.
Yeah, it's a pyramid scheme in the most literal sense. And the thing is that I think also, because they're not perfect, because they're not God and they want to be, but they're not, is that they need us now and then to have freedom so we can make some breakthrough for them that they can't figure out. Because they, one thing that I remember from testimonies of people who used to be in among, the top echelons, or who were in that realm in some way or another, would say there's one thing that the powers of evil lack is imagination, in the sense of creativity, the way normal people have it. Without normal human beings, there's certain things they can't do. And it bothers them that they have to keep us around. But that's why any sort of freedom is allowed to happen, any sort of communication, because they need us to solve a problem for them. And we unwittingly do it.
Yeah, they gave us, let me rephrase that. We gave them the last 100 to 120, 150 years to stock up, build up. We became the cattle. 9 to 5, come home, watch your soaps, watch your movies. We built all their industry. We built their underground bases. We built their cities. And then now, like cattle, they're going to do away with us. They're going to sacrifice us, use our whatever as whatever. They got a huge plan, but like you were saying, it's
Yeah. The thing is that God is the best chess player, and there's just nothing they can do about it. But go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Right.
Oh, interruption! Another interruption. I'm sorry. I had to say hi to Rob in the chat. Yeah, it's still live, man. We're live. Go ahead, Paula.
Yeah, my computer crashed a while ago and we had to restart. But what was I going to say? Anyway, the thing is that what is in front of us to do right now, we're here for some reason, right? And all God ever asks of anybody is, what did you do with what I gave you? He's not saying, did you build a bunker? Yes. Did you go to Africa and feed the children? Did you do, he's going to say, I gave you this, this, and this. What'd you do with it? Even if he didn't give you much, what did you do with it? And here we are, we still on the internet. We can still, this is why I have been for years going, where are the Christians? Because I don't see them until probably recently, in any numbers in the chats without tearing each other apart.
Correct.
And that's what always bothered me is why can't Christians even get the gospel right? Why can't they understand that this is a gift? And why do they have to treat their fellow believers as worse than unbelievers? Because the devil loves that, because we're not aiming at him and we're not spreading the gospel, because we're too busy trying to tell someone else what's wrong with them? Some other Christian going, well, you can't speak, you're a woman. You can't read that version of the Bible, it's not the King James. You can't do this, you can't do that. You can't say you know truth. I've heard Christians say you can't know truth, it's arrogant. And that just floors me, and it's why we're ineffective, because why there's so many lost people, because we don't stand unified. We don't
Correct.
remember our priorities. We don't remember why we're here. We get so distracted and caught up in our little cliques of people who believe certain X, Y, and Z on our check boxes, And it's like I said, I was, after I did the 50th Truth Finders, I'm like, I've tried this before in years past. I did where 2 or 3 gather one summer, and before that I forget what it was. Christians just don't like to meet together. They like to do church, but they don't like to go to a live stream. They don't like to join arms in chats and actually evangelize or stand up for truth. And
right.
It's sad. It really is.
They miss the big picture. They don't understand. It's like David had to tell them, is there not a cause? They have no idea. And honestly, this truth movement, which is not a movement and it's not about truth, is one of the biggest anti-Christ gatherings ever. So, and then you go to these Christian hangouts and they're infiltrated with other Satanists, but then these people make it okay. And none of them get along now either, by the way. They've all, parted ways. Everybody's split up. There's greater separation than ever. And you can't even get them to understand, like just the basic, of how to talk to people and act like a human being, as if I was in person in front of your face, Brian, and I'm looking at you in your eye. That's not how they're going to treat me or Paula for some reason. For some reason, they tell Paula, you don't know what you're talking about, whether it's for one reason or another. You've already lost the discussion because of the way that you approach this person and treat them, no matter what. And then where are the leaders? Where are the Christian leaders, the people speaking, the people that have followings, bigger than Nathan Oakley's Flat Earth Debate channel? Those Christians exist, and they completely do not stand for the Bible, though. They are about themselves, and they love the attention. And one of these guys is a fiction writer, and he spends his time worrying about what he's going to write in his next fictional book instead of the actual really big deal that's going on right in front of our face, protecting brothers and sisters and doing what God asks us to do and protecting people that should be at least to be heard. I mean, why shouldn't anybody be heard that is a Bible believer, especially if they put time into it? You know what I mean?
Yep.
What up, David Rakia? Shout out to David Rakia. Chalian Cat is holding it down. Let me tell you, that guy is a blessing. Joe Friday, I appreciate you being here, sir. I'm going to go back to the chat real quick to see if I missed anything else. Hello, Rachel. Let's see. Martins, Talbergs, we should stand on one ground. Yeah, there's only one truth, Martins, excuse me, there's only one truth. And when you tell people you know it, they get offended. I heard this conversation the other day of one of these renegade groups that is in the Flat Earth talking about how upset he is. This guy sounds like a cool guy, and his Discord channel was stolen from him, and this big thing happened. I'm like, yeah, that's the truth movement. Okay, I remember talking to this guy a little while ago, but I hear him make the same mistakes, and this nice gentleman who seems to be very woke, supposedly, will start saying how he doesn't need a book, and that he can care less about that God. Well, then you've completely missed the point, because that's what it's about. It's about what God wants. It's about his will, which is in the Bible over and over again. You don't even have a leg to stand on. If you scoff at the Bible, then that's exactly what the evil of this world has done to us for a few thousand years now. You're doing exactly what they did. All the deceptions that you're upset about were done by Antichrist. It's an Antichrist system. All the things that you're complaining that you're smart about, that the reason you're mad is because they didn't listen to God. You're mad because they didn't listen to God. His word was there before you. Before you were mad about it, God was already mad about it. Before you knew about it, his children already knew about it. That's why his children are going to come to you and say, hey, listen, this is God, and he decides, and this is not his world. We ruined this world, gave it to Satan. And if you don't understand that, you haven't, again, you're another guy at the starting line just standing around looking at his clock. I mean, you're not doing anything. You have to turn to God. And that's why I've seen so many miracles happen right in front of my face. I say, God, I trust you, so you show me. And all of a sudden, I started seeing and knowing and getting things, and miracles were happening, Brian. And God was showing me things that I didn't even know I was asking for, Brian, because I said yes. Because I said, God, I'm going to let you understand, and I trust you, and whatever you let me understand, thank you. Whatever I get from you, God, thank you. And when I pray to God, I pray to God and with the thanks, Brian, because I've already had so many things. How many miracles do I need to start counting? People don't appreciate what they already have, and they always want something more than. And I'm just as guilty, but at least I can acknowledge it. Yeah, at least I can acknowledge it. You have to acknowledge what God has given you. I'm sure I'm cutting out temporarily, but what God has given us is far more than what you understand. You don't understand what you've been given, and people that are bragging about what they have are bragging about something what God gave them. If they think they're too good for this and that, you think you're too good because God gave you your own set of skills that makes you proud. And you're going to use your own logic, which is wrong right away. You're trying, well, I don't understand this. When people start asking these questions and start asking you things about the Bible and for you to explain this, here's the biggest mistake all Christians, especially newer Christians, do, Brian, is that they try to start explaining things right away instead of saying, why do you think you could understand what God says right away? That's your first mistake, and then it'll be their last. They're going to continue. That's the point. Okay, well, we don't understand it. Let's get to the root of it. Let's see.
Yeah, exactly. You want to find out where they're at.
Context.
Exactly.
Let's see. The main word, the most important factor is the context. Every single time an atheist or a scoffer, anybody, or just a nice atheist, like I know one at work, very nice guy. And I have these discussions with him, and he says, well, what about this part right here about they gave him the different tablets and they changed the 10 commandments. I go, okay, bro, if I show you that's not true and you're misreading this, are you going to know this is the word of God? And he goes, well, no, in fact, probably just as a clerical error. Okay, so you're bringing something up that's not even a problem that you just dismissed. You see, they don't want the truth.
Right.
Already, Brian. So when I cut people out from under their legs, I get attacked even by many Christians. Charlie and Cat won't do it. He does the same thing. What we do is we cut them off before they start. I already know where they're going. I'm going to show you, oh, this is your end game right here. I'm going to do that. And that's why I get in trouble. I get banned from so many places whether it's talking about the word science, which I'm not making a claim for the definition of, Brian. But if you've ever seen the Flat Earth debates, I've been involved with Flat Earth for, actually, my anniversary was April 5th. And it's my 5-year anniversary. So thank you. Thank you very much. God has given me some miracles and shown me some things that I don't even know what to say about. In fact, it took me months to be able to understand. So when I show them to other people, I don't expect them to understand it immediately anyway. So even things that we understand, don't expect things that we understand to be automatically transferable to someone else. You see,
you can lead them to the water.
Right. Yep. So why is somebody asking me these questions anyway? So you met a guy so we just met right now and you're scoffing at me. We know where this is going to go. Why are you asking me to explain these things for you? See, the reason they're asking you, Brian, is so that they can make them feel better about what they already want to believe.
Correct.
That's what it's about. They're not asking you to help them. They're asking you to make a fool out of yourself and to fall for their trap and listen to them. The best thing that you can do, when somebody starts grilling you, whether you know the Bible or not, find out, why are you grilling me? What is this? What is it? If they're grilling you, here's the big point I'm trying to make here is that I hear it all the time. Rather, it's not just conversations about the Bible. It's conversations about flat earth or creation or just trying to help somebody understand, like, you keep talking about the fact that you think you used to come from monkeys. Like when I tell somebody, okay, if you knew that you didn't come from monkeys, would you then believe the Bible? And if they say, well, no, then then you can just keep your monkey religion. Then where am I going to go with this guy, right? So I want to know where they're headed. If they're pointed towards the exit because I want to protect my skeletons in my closet, which is the vast majority, Brian, as I make up another statistic of 99.9%. That's the literal, very, very, very high majority of this world, especially when you meet them in the new age Sodom and Gomorrah, known as the internet. You're not talking to somebody honest. It's like 1 out of 1,000.
Exactly.
Right? So I want to find out where you're going, right? I want to know where you're going. Where are you going here? Okay, you're asking me about how does the sun work? Well, first of all, you're assuming you know how the sun works. So wasn't that a mistake? And now you're trying to get me to make the same mistake. You see, the person's already made the mistake. Now they want you to make the mistake, Brian. Yep. They're not honest questions. When somebody said the word April 5th, 2015, and someone said, well, as Rose Patton said to me, flat earth, I didn't ask her, well, how do you explain why bees can fly? You see,
right.
I don't do that. I go, wow, this person actually thinks this is true. I would like to know why now.
Exactly.
And maybe I should try to figure that out, because there's got to be a relevant reason. There's got to be something important here that I'm missing. Let me go study that. You know what, Brian? That was another miracle. Why did God allow me to do that? God allowed me to push my pride away and do that. That's a miracle, Brian.
Yep.
That's an absolute miracle. It had to be the right place at the right time, or the wrong place and the wrong time. That's to be determined. You see what I'm saying? Like, it had to be so precise. You can't make up the chances that when you come and meet people to help you learn things, you didn't do it, Brian. You see, you were given the opportunity and you said yes. And that's why God is going to reward you, maybe. But we can't make the claim ourselves of, look what I did, or
no, exactly. That's the judgment he's going to give us. Yes.
Right. So you've been given everything. So when people get mad at me, they don't understand that I have no choice but to do this because you're mad at me. That's why I'm doing this. Because all these people for so many years wanted to be mad at me, because I said, no, I think, you know what? Let me listen more. Let me listen to what this lady has to say. The same thing happened when I met Paula. Let me see what she has to say. And why are people angry about this? Why are people angry about this person? That, I need to see some real reasons here. And look, when it comes to truth, what type of people are trying to promote these ideas into our, children's minds and our societies that we already are accustomed to, that are anti-Bible? Where are the roots of these ideas? And then they're interchangeable, they're intermixable, because you show them it's all the same lie. It's don't trust God, Brian. Remember, now we're going back to don't believe the Bible. Everything is about don't believe the Bible. You see how it always goes back to that. And when the Flat Earth 24/7 chats, and I like Effie Jedi, and I God bless him, and Jose, El Chapo Wapa Jose, not the other guy. And God bless him for being nice, but they have a room for that type of speech because it's still banned there. You see, they don't want people talking about the Bible too long, and they want to make it a rule that it has to go down to the spiritual room, and you have to go down to the spiritual room. So that's the point, is that you're doing the same thing that our satanic school systems, our satanic government does. So, and I get along with those guys for the most part, some of them, but I have been banned there 6 times. So it's not about when I get angry. Right. Brian, it's not about when I get angry. If you see, you're going to get angry at me, Brian. You see, but I'm going to get blamed for it, and I'm called an accuser, and I'm called lots of names. I've even been called that I'm drunk and things like that. And that's okay, Brian. That's actually a good thing, Brian, because they don't want the truth. So they should call me names. And you know what? When some of the names they call me are accurate. And that's okay, because yes, if it's negative, Brian, it's actually true, because that's what I'm doing to them. As I've been called a terrorist before. I get you. I don't know if you know that, Brian. I've been called a terrorist before. That's okay, because I was terrorizing that person. Yes, you see? And that's how sometimes it's going to be. So if you're supposed to be the salt of the earth, you're supposed to be doing God's will, then for anybody to even interrupt or to try to say that some certain people shouldn't do this, if they're doing it from their heart, they believe. Honestly, if you believe Jesus is God and you want to preach the Bible, nobody has a right to tell you otherwise. If you're preaching a false doctrine, then yes, you're going to be corrected. If you're teaching something that's where it gets touchy here, and that's where it gets really tricky, Brian, because that's how deceived these people are. You're going to meet people that say, I'm telling you, and they're nice people. They're very nice people. They speak a lot nicer than me. They're much more cordial and polite than I am. but they're going to end up making a lot of excuses of why the Bible isn't saying what it's saying, and then they're going to hide from what it says, just like
Correct.
Guess who? Everybody else. And that's why it gets scary, because I go, these people, they're at literally the salvation point. A lot of people make a big deal, Paula, is this a salvation issue? Well, this is,
I don't even know it. Go ahead.
This is kind of a big deal. This is a salvation issue in the long run. Yes. This is a salvation issue. Remember, you either believe in him or you're believing the world, which is the Mormons and the Islamics and the Catholics and everything that we expose now, which is dreadful in the eyes of God, and an abomination unto him, verily, I say unto you. That's what we see now. But people don't get it, Brian. They're not getting it, and they want to hold on to the comfortability of being in that zone of, I guess, different. They like being different. And people will say they believe the Bible, Brian, and even the New Testament, and they're very smart and eloquent, but they'll say that Jesus is just the Messiah and not God. And that is something that is, I guess, concerning to me, because these people do need to realize that they're falling for what everybody else is teaching. Doesn't that really kind of set that off a little bit? Everybody else teaches the same thing, that Jesus isn't God, Brian.
Right. I get it.
Sometime I was supposed to debate somebody, I don't know if that's ever going to happen, in Discord on that topic. Somebody who was, is a mod at 24/7, who was the reason I left 3 times, and then the 4th time I was permabanned by one of her friends. But the thing is that the idea that Jesus is God makes people insane. I mean, they just can't stand the idea. And it's the more common problem of people just not listening. I mean, as soon as I got in there the first time into what I thought was going to be a Christian chat or something, at least a religious chat, what I quickly found, as soon as you say something they disagree with, it triggers them, and they no longer listen. They don't hear a thing you say ever.
They shut off. Yep.
Yeah, ever. They never hear what you have to say. And this is a common problem over the years. I mean, all sorts of people who say, "Oh, yeah, I want to talk to you," and then you get on the phone or the chat or whatever it is, and you never get to say a word, because they're not there to listen to you. They want to talk at you. They don't want to talk with you. And because of that, that's half the reason Christians don't, form any kind of unity and work together like they're supposed to, because they're not listening to each other. I mean, that's the first thing, that I look for anymore is this person a listener? Will they hear anything I have to say? Because if they can't do that, I mean, I don't ask something of them that I don't do. And if they can't do that, then it's never going to be a relationship. It's always going to be them wanting to dump whatever ideas on me or whoever's going to listen to them. And
if you can't start with a common ground anywhere, then you can't go from there. So you can't even start a debate. You can't start a conversation if you don't have flat ground. Anyway.
An even even field or level playing ground.
Yeah.
Level playing field. Man, I had like 3 or 4 phrases mixed up there. I'm older now, so. But yeah, there's no art of listening anymore, and that's why people, the more communication tools people have, the less they communicate. So,
correct. Yes.
And the deep state knows this, but at the same time, stuff still gets through, because their little prisons always have doors somewhere that they can't keep closed.
That and like we kind of hinted earlier, it was the 5-10 years ago they started pushing out certain things that were true to get us in a rabbit hole.
Right.
To get
and look how many people fell for it, Brian. How many people think that magical giant kitty cats are why we have mountains?
Yeah.
Do you understand how great of a deception this is? The deception isn't just one direction. It's all directions except God's direction. See, that's why Jesus says you are either for me or against me. And when you watch these videos, remember 4 years ago, Paula and I have witnessed this, and you have too, Brian, I'm sure, since I remember you from a couple of years ago, that we've seen these things change people. People go insane. Oh, you're not going to believe this. It's bigger than flat Earth. Oh, okay. What is it? Oh, yeah. Watch this video on YouTube. And I'm like, okay. And then you watch the video on YouTube and it's like, well, yeah, the Bible kind of talks about some of this stuff, so you're saying the Bible's already been right, but then it didn't know about this other stuff, so we can still ignore the Bible. That was the first thing I noticed. Like, okay, well, you're claiming this, you're using the G word, giants. We're gonna. That's all said and done. Great. That's what the Bible's been saying, yes, for years. But now you're saying that, that's why we have land formations, and actually the angels cut these trees down. They had really sharp chainsaws. That's why everything's cut off nice and flat. They didn't have any root pullers though. They were in a hurry. Or the giant massive tree. This whole thing is just the laughing stock. Now on top of it, watch this, Brian, is that now they have another one attached to it, which is almost as old, and it's called mud fossils, in order to forget that it's the flood fossils. You see, so they're again discrediting what? See where I'm going here? So it's all designed the same way, Brian. It is all being designed to be anti-Christ. Because if you're anti-Noah's flood, my cat can understand this, you're not pro-Christ. Okay? You are anti-Christ, period. That's what all these things are. Bro, it's rampant. It's like the veins and arteries of the truth movement are people constantly saying these things and saying, oh yeah, have you seen this video right here? This actually shows that, they'll show you a thing and they'll say this is a giant dragon, and it's like half of Russia. They're showing you as a dragon. Like, they're going to tell you this is a dragon. And they're serious, and you just got to look at them like, wait a minute, you were making fun of me 5 years ago for saying dragons lived with man thousands of years ago, and they were, about the size of an elephant, and you said I was an idiot. Mm-hmm. And now you're telling me that are 10,000 miles long, and that's why we have one burped, and that's how we got the Tunguska incident. I mean, you're calling me, these are the people that called me crazy. I was the crazy creationist 8-10 years ago, Brian, because I knew dragons live with man. They're called dinosaurs now. And now what do they say also? For a third way, watch this, 3 times a charm. Satanic Satanism, internet Satanism is in 3s, right? Big truth movement. The third fallacy, completely, satanic perverted lie, is that we'll just completely take out God's animals and say that dragons never existed. Now let's just take them all away from you. And that's why they say dinosaurs never existed. What do your lizards don't exist? The word means terrible lizard or great lizard. Don't you think if this lizard just gets a little bit bigger, it's going to be great, Brian? These are the same people that believe in giants, but all of a sudden lizards have to be wall lizards. Are you stupid?
Right.
Because you believe in all these giants, and I can have elephants that, if you ride on, it'll take you a week to walk across the back, but I can't have a lizard that's 50 feet long that maybe took, livestock and eventually people late at night, and we have stories of these all over the freaking histories, from Flavius Josephus to all these people besides the Bible. And that was a big deal for me. So every single thing they talk about in the truth movement is what? Anti-God's creation, anti-God's judgment, the flood, and of course, anti-Jesus. That's everything, Brian. That encompasses everything. And one is about... I
didn't realize it went that deep when I first started. Go ahead.
Right. So one is about a tutorial on how to give yourself, better eyelashes. And the other one is about mud fossils. That's one end of the spectrum to the other one, It's all Satanism, because it's all about the feel-good selfie kind of thing. You see I'm doing here. It's of self. It's look how good this video is, and this is really amazing. It's an enjoyment. It's a drug. Like I've always told you, it's the high. People can't let the high go. You realize a great truth, but then you just want more. You want to learn more amazing, fantastic things, and you leave reality to do so. So now you're back where you started. You've come full circle, and you're actually worse off now because God tried to show you, and you gave God the finger. And that's what the truth movement did.
Yep, I said that years ago. Was like, I see this door open, all these people believing in God all of a sudden, but there were no Christians there to tell them who God was. Which of all the contenders is the real God. And because there weren't Christians there standing up
That
right
was one of my
away.
big problems. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's the thing is where are all the Christians standing up and providing the gospel to people who are open to it for a change? And the door's shut, and now it's all overrun with weeds. We've got the Gnostics and the Hebrew roots and whoever else, all the New Agey stuff, all mixed in, and everybody loves it. And it's one of the reasons I changed my name to Bible Literalist from Knowledge Scavenger, because that is the factor that cuts between one Christian and another as far as acceptance by the conspiracy community goes. It's if you're a Bible literalist, you're the bad guy. And if you're a Hebrew roots or anything like that, I mean, they love legalism. People love to have their check boxes, and they love to have a smorgasbord of spiritual ideas that they can choose from. But if you make an exclusive claim, this is the truth, that's why I also named my series Truth Finders and not just Truth Seekers, because they want you to seek for it all day long, but they don't want you to ever say you found it, which is just mind-boggling, because what are you looking for if you're not allowed to find it, or you get mad at somebody for finding it? And here we are with the truth, the one that matters, the one that affects your soul, and there's hardly anybody around. It's like, like I've been looking at how few people would come to the chats. Even now, I mean, this is a pretty good night to have 11 people. That's pathetic. I mean, it's pathetic. How many people don't care?
No,
it doesn't matter.
Skewing the numbers there. When we 4 or 5 years ago, we would easily break 100. Easily.
Right.
So I'm telling you right now, they're skewing those numbers. I'm just saying.
Right, but I mean, if you look at the chats, there's not that much participation. It's just looking at trends on how things used to be as far as how many people would be in chat. It's never been a big number though, And
right, but look at what Walter said.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, look at Walter Moss. I mean, the deception is great, and when the deception is so great, I'm talking about these people that we used to think, Brian, were really, really loyal to God, and they, I would call them rabbinic Old Testament believers. I'm not going to use the J word because that is a whole other can of worms. And the reality here, Brian, is that I am for God's law, but what the modern Judaism shows, and it's trickled down effect, is that they are following rabbinic traditions over the Word of God. They're worried about things being kosher and traditions outside of what was part of actual God's law. They've made up their own laws that they've carried over that have nothing to do with even the Old Testament, really. And this is again showing every single group is absolutely deceived in the ones that we thought were the most loyal, and that's who, of course, are definitely a topic of blame throughout all of history, right? People blame the Jews for the Black Plague. Well, it's because they followed the laws. That meant they washed their hands after they touched dead bodies. And that's why a lot less Jews were dying, because they knew to wash their hands because God told them. And that, of course they're going to be blamed. And they're going to be blamed for many reasons. That's what Satan hates the Jews too. Satan hates Christians. Satan hates God's children. That's normal. But today, you don't have any that know what they don't believe the Bible. I walked into the room. Oh, this was thank you, Cheyenne Cat, for reminding me. Cheyenne Cat remembers from nearly 2 years ago, Paula, the last time we were on Blood Always Finds Its Level. Cheyenne Cat calls it a season finale that never came because of John Gishgala, a rabbinic, traditional, Old Testament believer, I don't know what else to call him, was thinking that, he was going to start telling us that we were wrong when we just got into the Old Testament about David. And King David turned out to be he did some bad things too. I mean, God obviously used him for great things, but there was a point where King David did some bad things. And the person that is, of course, a believer of the Old Testament only, as an easy way to put it, was very offended and basically said that I was being anti-Semitic because I was telling the truth about what the Bible says David does, Paula. You were there.
Right. I remember that.
And then, and it's a good thing we saved this recording, is then when I met up with John Gishgala again about the topic, I was called anti-Semitic again because I was saying that the Bible says, and I'm only the Old Testament, they won't let me have the New Testament, Paul. So I only use the Old Testament. I went in there, I used the Old Testament. I said, here's what the Old Testament says. Now, how do I know you don't believe it? And they lost their minds. They were calling me basically, this is what Christians always do. I was a Christian. One person started, they were a Christian for 20 years and I'm wrong. I don't know my own Bible, and that's not what it says. And I just got attacked for it, for showing them this is what the Old Testament says, and that's why I know it's the truth. The problem is none of you believe it. Welcome to the Great Deception.
Exactly. Yeah, I think the issue was that I was saying something about King David having committed adultery and then murder to cover it up because they were saying that he never did anything bad. He never sinned. They believed that David never sinned. And I was like, it's right here in First Samuel, where it says that he did this. He committed adultery and then murdered the husband to try to cover up what he did. And I never heard a response after that. It's like, it's right there in the scriptures, in the Hebrew scriptures. And that's where tradition clashes with what the scriptures actually say. And they choose tradition. They choose I think it's Talmudic. I can't guarantee, but it's almost 99%.
And rabbinic. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's rabbinic. It's Talmudic. They have their own. Here's what's so funny. It's the only other group that has they're all. Here's the irony. Let me slow down. The whole kind of thing from Israel is almost set up like the Catholic Church, and they have their own sects of these different groups that follow their own traditions and not the Bible, just like the Catholics, the Mormons, the Jehovah's Witnesses, it's the same thing, but it's on the other corner of the plane of existence. And it's amazing to me that people don't understand it. They're doing the same thing. There's a Catholic Church for everybody. It's universalism for a reason. That's who's taken over them. Do you think that the deception isn't going to encompass everything? If the apostles were deceived people, what do you limit Satan to in this world?
Right. And that's why I keep harping on evidence and witnesses and hostile witnesses on the resurrection, because that is the checkmate of everything. You can argue anything else you want, but you can't argue with the fact of history with eyewitnesses, with hostile ones who tried to cover it up. I just went over this the last live streams. It's like, where was the Roman investigation into the stolen body and the broken seal? I mean, that was a high crime, and there was no investigation. And not even the Sanhedrin or any of those people tried to go looking for the body. They didn't even look. They just said it's stolen. And the glaring absence, the silence, the shouting and evidence that Jesus really rose from the dead, this is the end-all, be-all of all the arguments about who has this text or that text. The fact is that the Bible has been scrutinized more than anything else. The people who claim that saw it happen died horrible deaths for what? There's no motivation. I went down the list of things that tell any reasonable person that this is a true fact of history. Nobody else has anything that comes close to that. You got documents and you got traditions, but we have an empty tomb. I mean, you can't compete. And that's why it has to be ostracized. And that's why people say it's arrogant. What else are they going to say? It's like playing the race card, because what is the point of looking for truth if you're not allowed to find it? And if you disagree with the truth that I found, then just walk away. You don't have to attack. You don't have to shout me down, tie me to a chair, put a light over my head, and pistol whip me because I don't believe something you think I should, or I do believe something you think I shouldn't. But that all happens to people who claim to be Christians, who have, some have followings, some are just in Discord, whatever it is. But it's all the same. And it's like, you remember what Jesus said, when the Son of Man returns, will he find faith on the earth? I don't think that was much more of a rhetorical question as a prediction, because that's exactly what we're seeing. And some people are, I think it's somewhere between the two extremes. And some people will say when the rapture happens, either it will be devastating to the world or nobody will notice because there's so few Christians. But the thing that stops me on that is that all the dead in Christ will rise as well. You can't minimize 2,000 years of Christians who have died suddenly disappearing out of their graves. And people say, well, they're in the graves, they're hidden. Well, people go to visit, and there are, ashes in urns and things. Maybe a lot of them won't be noticed. But I happen to think that the world will see something happen, when people are suddenly not in their graves. Because it won't be, everybody will be, there will be people who just died 5 minutes before Jesus comes, and they will be disappeared. The body will disappear. And so this is something that can't be denied. And so that's why I think there's somewhere between nobody noticing and everybody freaking out, because we need some freaking out for certain things to happen in prophecy. But at the same time, by what we see and what we don't see, I'm saying there aren't nearly as many as a lot of people think. Because they're, like Jesus said, what good is a light if you put it under a bowl? What good is salt that isn't salty? He's talking to people who are supposed to be spreading good news, and he was talking to Jews at the time. They had failed in their mission, and we failed in ours. That what good are Christians who are hiding? That's why Jesus never said, let's build a monastery. You're supposed to mingle and be in the world, but not of it. I know it's a trite phrase, but it's exactly the truth. We're supposed to be out there affecting people. That's the point. And that's why this isolation serves Satan's purposes, but we're still not isolated as long as we can communicate, and we should be all over the internet spreading the gospel. But I'm just not seeing it. It's just sad.
Well, how about when I listen to these people come into the 24/7 Flat Earth Discord? I mean, you can read them like a book, but when they say something like, oh, is this a religious belief? Something like that. It's always the projecting irony of demonic possessed nut jobs that are talking about themselves. They're already coming in to tell you that they're so religious, they don't want to hear about your religion. That's what they're saying every time. They're just admitting, I'm so religious, I cannot hear you tell me about anything that's in the Bible. It is the biggest religion in the world. It is the Antichrist system. And 90% of the people that are, again, my statistics being made up, Brian, thank you. The fact is, the majority of these people that are coming to this Flat Earth Discord are hostile. They are there to make themselves feel better about their belief system. All right, look at these people. There's a Flat Earth Discord. Oh, let me go there. And I'm going to make fun of them for, 30 minutes real quick, or something. That's how people approach Christians. When you watch these debates, when you watch these people interact, whether it's a Flat Earth conversation, a science, a pseudoscience, whatever it is, evolution versus creation was the most popular for 20 years. It works all the same. You can learn the tactics of debate with all these things are the exact same. You can see where the people's coming from. But people don't want the truth. They want you to help them believe that they are already right. And that's what their goal is. That's why they're here. They're proud. They're already telling how they know something, by the way. And I know it, and it works and everything, and it only makes sense this way, but I can't answer any questions about it. Sounds legit? Great, because that's everybody else that attacks the Bible.
Right. That's the thing that I keep telling people, as we all have all these years, is why is it they only pick on this one? Why do they pick on the Bible literalists? Why not the other Christians? Why don't those Christians bother them? Because the Bible says that we are the aroma of Christ in the world, and to some people we're the fragrance of life, and to others the stench of death. And how they react depends on whether they're hostile to the faith or open to it. And that's one thing, like I said, why I name myself Bible literalist, is because that's the stench of death to them. If you take the Bible literally and say, yeah, Jesus really did rise from the dead, no, this isn't all a story of the struggle of good and evil. It's about truth. And and that God expects us to choose whether we want to spend eternity with him. That's the gospel, and that's what they hate, and that's what they target. And that's why they can't get rid of the Bible, so they have to infiltrate it and say, well, it's an allegory, or, it's just we pick what we want out of it. It's like the astrotheologists do. They're syncretists, and I've described it like taking 5 giant jigsaw puzzles, dumping them all out in one pile, and then try to make one picture out of it you say is the real picture they're all trying to make. That's not how it works. That's not how truth works. And it's not arrogant. It's just truth. And we shouldn't be afraid as Christians to stand up for that.
Right. So it's got to be this way till the end. It's actually going to get worse, right? So that's how it goes. And we have to have the trust in God. And again, if you just look at how everybody's reacted to something they heard about on TV and the radio, then that's their problem. You know, you got to talk some sense into these people. But if they don't want to listen, if they just want to mock you, it is okay to mock them back. Okay, you're just proving my point. All right, you're just making stuff up to make yourself feel better. Do you feel better now? And I get in trouble for it. And that just exposes that other people they want, because I'm doing something. It seems like if a Christian's doing something out there, guys, and you're trying to like literally just show people, hey, there's other ways of doing things, they won't let you do it. I'm letting you know this right now. You will not be allowed to talk. You're going to get shut down or muted. I get muted all the time. And I try to be nice. I go to these different places where people are supposed to be about the truth, and I just get muted because they have the ego. These are the fellow truthers out there, guys, that are pretending like that they like. These are the people claiming they believe the Bible, by the way.
Right.
Just so you know, this is multiple people claiming they're believers, and I'm constantly being silenced by them. That's literally a spitting image of the world. That's already what everybody else was doing. So guess what? Them waking up to stuff didn't help them all the way to where it needed to help them. They're in big trouble. They're in grave danger. I haven't even mentioned the book of Enoch yet. This baffles me more than anything. Let me tell you, I don't understand why people keep talking about this book of Enoch when I can't tell anybody to tell me why it's important that they blocked it or took it out of the Bible or banned it, or what do I need out of this Bible that's so important? I can't get an answer, but people want to talk about it because it talks about 2,800-year-old Star Wars. And it talks about things about laser beams and teleportation things and Pac-Man scenarios and Lord of the Rings and this stuff. That doesn't help me, and you're reading it for entertainment. You see, and I already knew there was something wrong. I already knew there was something wrong because the people were not talking about the actual point of the Bible. They're talking about this book of Enoch, and they complain like it's Bible. They'll say it's Bible, but when you read it, how do you think that's Bible when I think if you read the book of Enoch, you can tell that it's not? Right. I don't understand. I just don't understand. It just doesn't. When I read the Bible, I go, wow, no man can write this. This is amazing. And then I read the book of Enoch and I go, I hear pew, 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 pew.
Wasn't there two Enochs, though?
There's,
I'm just asking.
Sure.
There's three books of Enoch.
Yeah.
No, I mean two different Enochs.
Yeah. Yes, there was. Yes.
Okay.
There's two.
Okay. Most people don't know that either. That's why I just wanted to say.
Yeah, there's two Enochs in the Bible, but
right. And you know what they keep? On my last, I'm sorry. This is my last statement about this, Paula. Is that here's the big claim: is that the book of Enoch is in the Bible, Brian? Okay, it's not in the Bible. Enoch, the person, and his oral traditions are in the Bible. It does not say book of Enoch in the Bible. Period. End of story. And people will continue to go around making this claim, and they call themselves Christians, and they're flat earthers, Brian. We got a big problem. Go ahead.
The biggest tell is that people are like, the Bible has been corrupted. It was written by the Jesuits. Oh, Enoch should be in it. Well, what would they have done if Enoch had been in the Bible? They would reject it. I can guarantee you that. What this is about is putting something into the Bible that they want to be there for whatever reason, because it's, like the stuff you said, it's boring to them or offensive to them or scary to them to talk about Jesus rising from the dead and that God does choose people for certain things and not other people for certain things. And it bothers them that there's a God doing these things, but they like the space alien tech, but it's like I said, if that had been in the Bible, they would reject it too. But because it hasn't been, they want it to be better than the Bible. And the two people you mentioned earlier, Zen Garcia and I forgot his other name. Hebrew roots guy.
Yeah, I forgot his name too. What
Rob
was his name?
Skiba. Rob Skiba.
Yeah, that one
They
too. Yeah.
do regular live streams on the Book of Enoch, and people eat it up. They get a good crowd. And yeah, granted, they both have popular channels of their own, but everybody loves to talk about Enoch. Why do they love to talk about Enoch and say it should be in the Bible, but hate talking about the Bible? It's always Enoch. It's like the Enoch is the whole Bible to them. And it's just the irony has just gone over their heads and everybody else's heads, that this point I'm making about the fact that they hate the Bible but they love Enoch. They want Enoch to be in it, but they hate the Bible because Enoch isn't in it. It's just madness. And they just don't see what's going on. What's that?
Cherry picking.
Brian?
Yeah.
I'm not,
Right.
whether I agree or not, that's their cherry picking.
Well, Brian, one of the versions of the Book of Enoch says that Enoch is the savior, and they'll say it doesn't say that. They don't. There's no version that's like accurate that I can go, what about this? There is. It's completely all over the place. So if I go to some older version, it'll say Enoch's the savior, but they won't accept that. So you have this one book that says Enoch is the savior, and you're thinking this needs to be in the Bible. They just won't go there, and they'll deny it.
Yeah, there's two different versions. There's an older one of translations of it, right? There's an older one and a newer one. And the newer one, I went over this in some of my videos, the newer one saying that Enoch himself is saying he's the savior. And the people love that. They don't have a problem with Enoch being the savior. Why? I mean, Christians of all people should be going red flag, but they're not. They're eating it up. And that's one thing that almost got me banned before I was banned from 24/7 is a supposed Christian mod wanting me to back off from saying things that were calling out Zen Garcia, who was on panel at the time, and he wasn't seeing the chat. It wasn't bothering him at all. But that I would say something and say, what about this? What about that? And I almost got banned on the spot for that by a Christian. It's just ridiculous.
That happens when I used to ask the question, what happened between the time of the fallen and the Garden of Eden? I would get banned for asking those questions because I was serious. That's when I found flat Earth. I found a lot of things were opening up, and I remember I have my wife that totally on board, understands, same on the same page as you, Paula. Here I am at the time, I'm more of that scientist guy, and I'm trying to convince her that we're monkeys and blah, blah, blah. But, I forgot where I was going. Shit. Sorry.
You believed in a gap theory. You believed in a false doctrine taught by many so-called Christian groups, many so-called Jewish groups even, and that word is used so loosely, but many people that even proclaim to be following the Old Testament law. Like, it's crazy. They had this one website this guy showed me, and he was talking about how there was millions of years and this and that before Adam and Eve. And I was like, that's not what the Bible says. And he's like, well, look here. It says right here, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was on the face of the deep. He says, see, darkness is on the face of the deep. That's because the earth is destroyed. I go, we're not living on the deep. You see how we're not living in the deep. The darkness was on the face of the deep. We don't live in the deep. The deep would be probably underneath us if there's darkness on the face of the deep. And then the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. That's the first literal day of creation, first maybe day of the creation, right? The first actually afternoon. I would say that creation started afternoon, Paula. Or at noon, exactly at noon. And they don't want to believe it. They don't believe that they're literal days. So they don't believe the Bible. This is the great deception. And don't get me wrong, a great part of the great deception that I love destroying is this. It's not just the shape of the earth, Brian. It's all of the baggage that this sun-worshipping, actually star-worshipping religion is. This heliocentric religion is not just sun-worshipping the sun. What do they say? And look at all the other suns, Brian. They're not saying
symbolism. People don't understand symbolism. That's another thing that opens the door.
Right. So it's far worse than that. They're not only denying they're denying every detail about Genesis in the creation. What a coincidence. They are denying every single thing that God is literally describing, his creation. That's why when you hear, if it's a flat earth, that automatically means everything about their sun worshiping religion is wrong. And they're not just worshiping one sun, they're worshiping, in their mind, Brian, billions. They think there's billions of suns. In the Bible, it describes,
Sorry.
it describes one sun, and these are people talking about other worlds and suns out there. That's actually what really probably upsets God as an abomination. You're not just completely just perverting the actual fact that we are on a foundation of amazing creation that's again has foundations, and it is not an object. This is not an object, Earth, Brian. It's not an object. Like when people go, well, what's underneath it? Well, where's the edge? It's not an object. That's the point. Everything you thought you knew, you have to throw everything else out with it. And you'll meet people that's a great abomination, Brian. It's not just about the shape of the earth; it's everything they've attached to it. And these are people that are, believers in Jesus as the Savior, that still believe this other huge satanic lie.
Well, that's I have a comment. It's kind of a question / whatever, but the whole big G, small G thing, I don't even like giving the wrong side that word. I don't even like saying small G. I don't know how to go about saying it, because I don't want to give them that power, because that, if I'm putting it out there, I'm just putting, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to give them that. It's just like when we would all didn't want to give somebody an extra view, we would get on, a bunch of us watch, we would all watch one, so we're not giving them all a bunch of views. Same type of thing. I don't know how to address it when it comes to when people are saying big G and small G and blah, blah, blah. Well, if it's big G and small G, that means it's just big G. That's it. There's no such thing as small G's. That means that's the fallen. That's the, you know what I mean? So I don't want to even give them that, that recognition. Am I saying that right?
Right, but all you got to do is, I feel the same way pretty much, man. And this is a problem that we've been dealing with for probably 2,000 years. And the only reason why it is okay is because that's how God describes it in a way. But, Satan is the god of this world. Remember the story that Satan took Jesus up to a high mountain. It even describes angels being involved.
Yeah, go ahead.
Angels were assisting in this meeting between Satan and, of course, God in the flesh, Jesus. And they went up to a high mountain to view all the kingdoms of the world. And Jesus was offered by Satan all the kingdoms of the world if he just bows down to Satan. And, of course, Jesus basically said you can keep those kingdoms because he's the god of this world. He is. So that's why it's easy for, I guess, for me to
take what's mine.
he's the god of this world for sure, bro. Yeah, he should be. Man, it is man's fault that Satan is the god of this world, and it eventually will give the glory back to the God of heavens and the earth and the seas and all that in them is. So
here's another question that a lot of people are hung up on, and it's not necessarily addressed, but put out there. A lot of people, what's the difference between Jesus, Yeshua, and these other names?
Oh, let me say something real quick. First of all, okay. Jesus is Yeshua. Okay, so Yeshua HaMashiach, that means the Savior. That's not like his last name. So Yeshua is basically Jesus, okay? But there are some times in the Bible where they are wrong, like this thing where it's in the Hebrew, it's 4 letters, Yod, He, Vav, He. You see the 4 letters, and then they'll turn that into a name and pronounce it Yahweh. That's incorrect. That's like saying I bought a GMC and it's really a gimmick. That's not what it's called. That stands for General Motors Corporation. You see what I'm saying?
I got you. Yep. Go ahead.
And this is one of the biggest deceptions, bro, because you're basically you're reversing it. Remember, Hebrew's backwards, so they reverse the name and then say Yahweh, or whatever. That's not right. That's not what the Bible says. In fact, the Jews don't even pronounce his name, don't even say his name for the most part. But it's not Jehovah. That's where Jehovah came from. Then they Americanized it and then called it Jehovah. And literally 500 years ago. This isn't even modern times. They called it Jehovah 500 years ago, Brian, incorrectly, because people were calling God Yahweh because of 4 letters in Hebrew. So that's
again also without the J being there.
Yeah, it's a Y. Well, the J is now. The J is with Jesus right now. Just like the name COC translates into James or George. COC and Samisi are James and George, translated from the Easter Island names, the islander names. Okay, so they don't sound anything like, but in languages, that's how names translate. So yes, God's name is Jesus in the English language. And I'm sorry that a lot of people don't like that, but it is.
Yeah, I'm just a lot of people are getting confused, and I just wanted to get that out there because that's a couple things that I've talked on the side and trying to figure out, I guess you want to say.
No, they're confused. Everybody's confused. Yep.
What's ironic about what they call sacred name movement, trying to get it exactly right, is knowing that the in the ancient times the Jews would, out of respect, not say the sacred name. They went out of their way not to say it because it's sacred. And here are these people today wanting to make sure they say it. It's totally disrespectful.
So are you saying that it's better just to leave that out?
Well, there's no mandate in Scripture that says you shouldn't say the name of God. It's a tradition. But the irony is that people who are trying to be more Hebrew than thou are totally missing the boat because those Hebrews they're trying to be like won't say his name out of respect. That's why they write God as G_D, because they don't want to write what they consider in any way a sacred name. This is just, it's not something God mandated. I mean, God told us his names. He said, I am who I am. I'm the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And then Jesus, of course, has many names. He's Jesus, he's Emmanuel. And this is just, descriptions of who God is. And in Revelation, it says that he will have a name that no one else can know. So, and each of us will have a name that only we know and God knows. So, people get hung up on this thing.
I'm one of them. That's what I was getting at. Talking with me and my wife. She's more like you, but at the same time, I'm sitting here not wanting to get it wrong. So I've been saying God.
And that's okay. I mean, God is not going to throw a lightning bolt at you if you mispronounce his name.
You know what I mean? I'm not trying to justify or like this is my loophole. No, this is me saying I don't understand.
Right.
I'm not sure. So I believe in God. I know there's a God. I believe in just the one. That's it. And that's where she's more on your side. If you want to say sides, whatever, we're all on the same side. I'm just saying, in my thinking, that's where I'm at. Just
right, and that's fine.
Let me jump off that. So when I'm talking to you about people that believe the Bible but say Jesus isn't God, and what they'll tell me though is that now hear me out here. Now this is the big deal. Now what they'll tell me and someone like Paula is that we are believing in multiple gods. So I want to bring this up because you just said you believe in the one God. Now when I say Jesus is God, they will tell me that I'm claiming that there are multiple gods.
Correct.
Because they're saying there can only be one God, and I'm saying Jesus is God. You see how this? So we're going back and forth. They're saying they're claiming that I'm being a polytheistic believer. Okay. When here's the irony. Here's how weird this is. Watch this. They're the ones believing that Jesus can live on earth, born of a virgin, live without sin, and then die and save us, and then come back from the dead, but he's not God. That's polytheism. They are believing there are two separate beings. I'm saying they're the same.
You're saying Trinity. You're basically saying you're going along with the Trinity.
They're the ones claiming he's another God. They're claiming he's the Son of God. That's polytheism. Yet they're claiming I'm the polytheist because I say they're both God. This is God's human form. They're the same one singular God.
You're saying one, and they're saying multiple, correct?
Right, and they're accusing me of being polytheistic when they're the ones claiming Jesus isn't God. Either Jesus is God or you're polytheistic. You're claiming there's multiple. You see, so you won't believe how the deception's right. People don't even realize what they're saying, Brian.
Yep. No, that's why I'm putting this out there, because a lot of people are getting stuck in these certain areas.
Right. And it all stems from people not paying attention to the text in the first place, and then building a theology over an incomplete understanding at best.
Assumption.
And then bashing people over the head who reach a different conclusion and not hearing anything they have to say. That's just the cycle.
Which brings us to where we're at.
Yep. Yep, it comes full circle. Like I said, the beginning of what? It is a cycle. I mean, I've done that on a prophecy study where it's like if you picture a spring, a coil, and pick one dot on each coil in a line, that's like prophecy. It comes around and it comes around and it comes around. You just don't know when the end is, or like so many tumblers in a lock. And I think this is a major click. If you were, cracking a safe, that what we're just hitting now is another major click. Is that the last one? We don't know. But there sure have been a lot of those, and how many can there be?
Well, look, they've been clouding the sky on purpose to prevent us to seeing the signs in the heavens.
Partly, so there's multiple layers to that, but yeah, exactly. No, exactly. But I'm starting. I literally in I think it was 2013 or 15. I got basically on my hands and knees, and I said, okay, show me what this place is. Show me. I got to understand, we all go through a rough life. I'm at that stage where I'm telling myself that, okay, if there is this almighty God, why is he like everybody else does at that point? Why are you letting this happen? And then I let go, and I said, okay, show me what this place is. Show me why I'm here. Literally, that's when I found flat Earth. That's what drove me to understanding the firmament. As soon as that clicked, and then me also at the same time remembering my children being born, watching it, everything just moment of clarity. Bingo. That's it. There's a God. There it is. You know what I mean? So there I had to start changing my thinking. And that's when I started asking those questions about, okay, what happened between the time of the fallen and the Garden of Eden and stuff like that. That's when I was trying to narrow it down and figure things out. And a lot of people, I think that's where they're getting stuck. They're trying to narrow things down, and they're getting stuck in a hole because of certain things that are going on. You know what I mean? Right. Or shiny things like Enoch, shiny dangly things that get their attention.
Squirrel. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. That's it. Yeah. Well, listen, it's after 11 here.
Okay.
Maybe we should wind it down, I guess. But we still don't have a lot of people, but it's just something we had to do.
It'll get out. I'll be pushing this too.
Yeah. Cool. Good to get back in the water again for a minute.
Yeah, it's been a long time. It's hard, like I say, to rub two Christians together. It's hard to get Christians to commit. I mean, the lowlifes, the heathen, can just say, "Hey, let's do a hangout and have 10 people on panel and 500 in the chat." But Christians don't do that. They don't support each other. But so I really appreciate you guys coming around and having somebody to talk to for a change. It's really nice.
Hey, I'm serious. I don't mind brainstorming as much as you guys want as this is going on, and probably further afterwards. I mean, this woke me up to a lot of things. Who knows how long we got? Right. So let's kind of continue this if we can. Maybe even if
God sent us more people? Yes. If not, no. Hey, it is what it is. Just saying. That's my input on that.
Awesome. Anything else to say also, Pillbox?
No, just getting our feet wet again, testing the ship out, just doing a trial run here. No big deal. The thing is that the topics aren't going away, the haters aren't going away. This world is just acting like it's a newborn. It needs a pacifier, and it's in big trouble. I mean, I drove across the country 4 times in the last year, and it is really getting so bad that there isn't going to be a government for these people that's going to continue to make it, I guess, dealable. You're not going to be able to handle what's going on anymore. The government isn't going to solve all the problems. The deceptions, again, like we were talking about in the beginning, are reaching all these truthers, these so-called smart truthers. A couple weeks ago, sounded like they were like crying in their basement. So people need to know that they got to drop their own understanding and give it to God. I mean, God is going to destroy this world, Brian. This world isn't going to be here for more than another, decade or so, a couple decades maybe. It's going to be bye-bye. Just like it says in the Bible, love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. For if any man loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lusting eyes, and the pride of this life is not of the Father, but is of this world. And the world passeth away, and the lust thereof. But he that doeth the will of God abideth forever.
Amen. It's a good point to stop on. And I want to thank everybody in chat also. Saw lots of
thank you.
Lots of good names in the chat. So hopefully, like I said, I will do my live stream Sunday. I don't know what it's going to be or how long I'm going to do live streams, because I've got like 600 videos, and after a while it's like, well, how many times can I repeat myself? But it's mostly been, I think what everybody really likes is discussions like this. They don't want to hear me lecture. They want, because I've got all those videos they can listen to if they want. But what they want is discussions of things that's going on right now. That's what a live stream is meant for. And so hopefully we can do this again sometime. So.
Yep. Let's give it to them, because they need the truth.
Amen. So thanks for everybody.
More shout outs. Sorry to interrupt. I know it's like an Arwen interruption, huh? All people. All people, free people, thank you, man. Cheyenne Cat is just been an absolute shogun out there. Super easy, nice, quiet night. Thanks again. Yeah, Brian, thanks for being here. Clouds Behind the Sun. Yeah, we're looking at that, just so you know. Clouds Behind the Sun. The sun's a little bit farther out there than I know what you guys are trying to say. Not trying to be mean to you or anything, but trust me, that sun is out there. We're not able to reach it. We can't explain the things of the earth to you. How can you understand the heavenly things? But yeah, it's been fun, Paul. Thanks. And don't forget, guys, blood always finds its level.
Amen. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time, whenever that is. Bye.
Laters.